Why do you keep daydreaming about that girl? She wondered. Xiao Yuqing stood beside her, a sneer on his face, and said, that brat Yi-chun. Even if he climbed his whole life, he'd never witnessed the scenery here. This old man agrees. After all these years, that little punk is still as detestable as ever. Just then, Xiaobai transformed into a majestic divine beast and softly called out, Princess Jingxi. Yi-chun and Yun Gang quickly hopped onto the divine beast's back. Both couldn't help but exclaim in awe. Xiaobai is even faster than the transmission array. The view is breathtaking. Witnessing this for the first time, Xiao Yuqing was so stunned his jaw dropped. Where did this giant dog come from? Down below, Jingxi was waving at the male lead. Yi-chun, pull me up. This transmission array is so boring. The other man desperately tried to stop his cousin. It's too dangerous. But the princess didn't care in the slightest. It's all right. I have Yi-chun to protect me. She then extended her hand towards the male protagonist, gesturing for him to help her onto Xiao Bai's back. Witnessing this scene, Xiao Yuqing was left utterly speechless in astonishment. My daughter's all grown up. I can't hold on to her anymore, he sighed inwardly. Meanwhile, Pang Yungang told himself he absolutely must not be so rude as to look over there. Yi-chun gently lifted the girl and softly said, Your Highness, hold on tight. Then Xiaobai spoke, Everyone hold on tight. In an instant, its pure white fur transformed into a mysterious jet black. It reared up, then shot off like an arrow. Pang Yungang, already timid by nature, now faced with this terrifying speed, couldn't help but let out a scream of terror. Yuqing, consumed by envy, roared, How can you have a divine beast? Damn it, say, second young master. Love is not something you can force, the old man beside him slowly replied. The young man looked displeased and asked, Mo Lao, why are even you defending that brat? He's clearly someone with a shady background, a mysterious identity. Hearing this, Mo Lao calmly replied, That lad's background is not ordinary at all. You'll understand later. Yucheng was clearly not convinced, his heart still full of resentment. Even if he comes from a noble background, he's just a lowly guard now. Just watch how I'll deal with him. In the study room of the Yi residence, Yi Qingtian was focused on his cultivation. Suddenly, a voice rang out, interrupting his train of thought. Qingtian, there's only a month and a half left. Have you found the legendary goo insect yet? The young man calmly replied. Don't worry, father. Although that goo insect is rare, I have received help from the Grand Emperor. The search hasn't been too difficult. It seems you have a plan. Have you found it? Yi Tianxiong asked softly, anticipation etched on his face. Qing Tian immediately produced a small vial, capturing everyone's attention. He slowly opened the vial, gesturing for everyone to observe. This is the twin heart goo, he declared. The man gasped, the twin heart goo? This twin heart goo has a unique characteristic. Its two heads are distinctly separate, Qing Tian explained. Once refined, they will share life and death, their minds connected. Yi Tianxiong expressed his admiration, nodding repeatedly. To think you found such a treasure. This is a major accomplishment. Hearing this, Qing Tian said smugly, with this twin heart goo, if he strikes me once, his sister will suffer a painful blow. Then, he paused, a sinister smile spreading across his face. Both of them chuckled at the wicked scheme. Qing Tian's plot was truly flawless. Meanwhile, at the Yi residence in Yi Lingling's room, she spoke to herself, her expression resolute. Lingner, remember, even in death, I won't let him use me. Yi Qing Tian wants to use the twin heart goo to control me. I will never let him succeed. She clutched the poison-laced hairpin she had taken from Yi Qing Tian's fan, her eyes sharp. She spoke softly, in a pensive tone, If I'm not mistaken, this poison can't harm me. I can only take a gamble. With that, she resolutely grabbed the poison-tipped needle and slashed it across her hand. Fresh blood splattered everywhere. Elsewhere, Xiao Bai, having just landed, immediately started complaining. I am exhausted. Xiao Jiao continued to tease his friend. One must reach the divine ability realm to be able to fly with a sword. Now do you understand why I didn't show myself? It's always you sly old fox. Xiao Bai said wearily, his voice filled with exhaustion. Yin Gang brazenly blocked Xiao Yuqing's view. He said loudly, Your teleportation array is nowhere near as good as our Xiao Bai. At this point, old Mo had to ask, Why are you blocking the entrance to someone else's home? I just wanted to show off a little, the man replied. Hearing this, Yuqing thought to himself, show off what? He felt the other man's sharp, cold gaze. Yin Gang suddenly interjected, a chilling shiver running down his spine. Immediately after, Xiao Yuqing calmly said to Jing Shi, "Cousin, let's go inside." The woman shyly stepped back and softly said, "Yichun, let's go." Zijian Mountain Manor is a sacred place for cultivation. You must seize this opportunity of the Qingyun tournament. Rest assured, Princess Jing Shi, the protagonist replied. Yuqing looked at the woman beside Yi Chun, jealousy rising in his heart. He was so envious that he dared to directly call his cousin by her name. Yi Chun, this isn't over between us. Immediately, he raised his voice, "Hold on. Zijian Mountain Manor has an unspoken rule. Outsiders who wish to enter must engage in a martial arts duel. If Brother Yichun doesn't mind, let's have a friendly spar." Hearing this, old Mo could only sigh in exasperation. This young lad has been infatuated with the princess since childhood. I'm afraid this won't end peacefully. Jing Shi immediately exposed the scheme of Xiao Yuqing, a distinguished disciple of the Purple Sword Mountain Manor. "Since when do we have this rule? I am 2 realms higher than Yichun," clearly bullying him. The young man continuously made excuses, insisting, "My cousin just wants to test his martial arts skills. With such weak martial arts, how can he protect my cousin Jin Ji Yu Dai?" Hearing this, Yichun pondered in silence. This fellow, from the very first encounter, had been relentlessly provoking him. Now, avoiding him was no longer possible. With Yuqing's continuous provocations, how could he back down? "I will let you experience what true sword intent is." Seeing the young man stride forward, Jing Shi softly called Yi Chen's name. The male lead glanced at her and replied, "Your Highness, please rest assured, I can handle this myself." Then, the young man confidently stepped forward. "All right, then let's see what you've got." Inside the mansion grounds, Xiao Yushan wore a smug look on his face. "Yi Chun, try your best to hold on. Let's begin," the protagonist replied calmly. Pang Yinchang stood outside, anxiously asking, "Old Mo, will that young man be all right?" "It's hard to say," the old man replied with a pensive expression. "The ancient texts say, cultivators of the sword path usually possess strength a level higher than those in the same realm. This time Yi Chun is practically fighting a divine ability realm expert. Doesn't that mean Xiao Yushan is 3 realms above Yi Chun?" Pang Yinchang exclaimed in shock. Soon after, the duel officially began. Xiao Yushan dashed forward with lightning speed. He used his movement technique, soared into the air, then swung his sword, aiming directly at Yi Chun and unleashing a powerful strike. However, with just a slight movement, successfully helped the protagonist avoid a fatal blow. Not only that, but also shattered the opponent's sword into a million pieces. Witnessing this scene, Xiao Yuqing exclaimed, "Unbelievable! That brat actually blocked my sword intent. You swordsmen dare underestimate me like this?" Yuqing thought to himself. Immediately after, Yuqing quickly descended to the ground. At this moment, the protagonist realized his opponent's insidious plot. He had used a despicable trick. Hidden inside the sword sheath was another sword. Yuqing now had victory firmly in his grasp. He swung his blade with ruthless determination. Unable to dodge in time, Yuqing was forced to endure the full force of the attack. Jing Shi watched from the sidelines, and her heart ached at the sight. "Yi Chun," she cried out in despair. Xiao Yuqing's fighting spirit soared, his momentum unstoppable. He tightened his grip on his sword and lunged forward ferociously. The protagonist remained calm, replying indifferently, "Come on then, don't blame me for not holding back." The words had barely left his mouth when the two engaged in a fierce battle. Suddenly, a sharp sword flashed through the air. Yu Cheng's sword was knocked out of his hand. It clattered to the ground. He cried out in shock, "Big brother!" At that moment, a man leisurely approached. It was Xiao Yushan, the young master of the Purple Sword Manor, Yu Cheng's older brother. Xiao Yucheng's older brother. He began to question the uninvited guest. "Injuring my guest the moment you arrive. What kind of manners are these? I was just sparring with him." Yu Cheng hastily defended himself. The man immediately exposed Yu Cheng's lie. "Sparring? You call using such a vicious move sparring?" Yu Cheng was speechless, unable to utter a word. He glanced resentfully at his older brother, who was solicitously checking on his opponent. "Young man, are you all right?" Yi Chun rushed over anxiously, asking, "Are you okay, Jingshi?" The wounds on Yi Chun's body had miraculously closed. The young man calmly spoke. "Just superficial wounds, nothing serious. They've already healed." Inwardly, he was secretly astonished, marveling at the miraculous effects of the dragon elephant subduing demon skill. Truly a useful and formidable technique. Xiao Yuqing looked at Yi Shun with envious and resentful eyes. Damn it, what kind of demonic cultivation method is this brat practicing? How can there not be a single trace left? This guy is so formidable at such a young age. His background must be extraordinary, Yi Shun thought to himself. At this moment, Xiao Bai also chimed in with praise. Yi Shun, you truly have thick skin and strong flesh. You've reached a certain level of mastery. What's a small injury like this? It's nothing compared to the true power of the dragon elephant subduing demon skill, Xiao Bai muttered. Just then, Elder Mo and Yun Gang respectfully bowed. Young master, Xiao Yushan replied. Elder Mo, Yun Gang, it's been a while. Then, the young man turned to his cousin and asked, This is Yi Shun, Her Highness the Princess's personal guard. The male lead quickly replied. Hearing this, Yushan suddenly revealed a surprised expression. You're from the Yi clan of Qingyun City? Indeed, as expected of a young master, your knowledge is truly extensive. Unlike some people, Old Mo replied on Yishin's behalf. Xiao Yuqing. He sneered, mocking the small size of Qingyun City. What prominent clans could possibly exist in such a place? Hearing this, Yushan immediately rebuked his younger brother. What do you know? The Yi clan of Qingyun City, just like our Xiao clan, are both prestigious martial arts families with centuries of heritage. At this moment, Old Mo began to introduce. Although the Yi clan keeps a low profile and has never established its own sect, it boasts countless masters within its ranks. Yi Shun's father reached the divine realm when he was only in his teens. Pang Yungang, Ye Chan's Fierjiriwa, was stunned into silence upon hearing this shocking news. His mind flashed back to the distant past at the Yi residence, where a young Yi Chun diligently practiced martial arts with his father. He was only 7 years old at the time. Yi Linger was around the same age as the protagonist. Witnessing Yi Chen's freedom to train in martial arts, she couldn't help but feel a pang of jealousy and sadness. Father, you're playing favorites. You only let Xiao Chen train. Do you hate me because I'm a girl? Yi Qingyun was indeed a skilled father when it came to comforting his daughter. He gently explained, I'm afraid that if you train too hard, you'll surpass your little brother. Really? Lingya asked excitedly. But the man simply smiled and replied, You'll understand when you're older. One evening, at the young master's residence, Xiao Yuqing rushed to find his older brother. Big brother, why do you keep listening to that brat? Yushan calmly replied, If I hadn't intervened today, you would have been in serious trouble, young man. Xiao Yuqing's face contorted with indignation. Brother, what kind of joke is this? If it weren't for you, I would have crippled him. You don't understand anything about Qingyun City. The Yi family is not to be trifled with. Their background and influence are far greater than even our mountain manor, Yushan said slowly. Xiao Yucheng finally relented. Fine, brother. You sound just like father when you lecture. Tomorrow, at Dibing Mountain, we'll see what his true strength really is. The next day, Yu Cheng led Yi Chun to the mountain peak, where a strangely shaped rock resembled a giant sword. Yi Chun was puzzled by Yu Cheng's intentions. Without keeping Yi Chun waiting, Yu Chun explained, That is a divine weapon materialized. Would you like a closer look? It was the first time Yi Chun had ever heard the term divine weapon. Yi Chun stared at Yu Cheng, awestruck by the majestic sight. Jing Shi, standing beside him, gently explained, Di Bing Shan is actually a weapon incarnate, the divine weapon of the great Yu immortal emperor from ancient times. She softly took Yi Shun's hand. Let's go take a closer look. Perhaps you'll sense something special. The two ran side by side along the path, startling Yunge, who quickly hurried after them. Seeing his prey within reach, Yu Cheng smirked inwardly. I'd really like to see just how formidable your swordsmanship talent truly is. Jing, she led Yi Shun to the foot of Di Bing Shan. According to her, this mountain was the great Yu sword, the sword of the great Yu immortal emperor transformed. The Zijian Shan Manor sect was originally founded around the hilt of this great Yu sword. It was the foundation of their entire sect. Suddenly, a strange sound emanated from Yi Shun's hand. Before he could understand what was happening, Yu Cheng quickly stepped between them, even deliberately bumping into him. He praised Shi for his profound knowledge and deep understanding, then turned to Yi Chun and said, Do you feel it? The aura of the ancient, mystical sword inscription that the great fish sword emanates is what my Xiao family ancestors used to comprehend the supreme swordsmanship, establishing the Purple Sword Villa, and from there, proudly standing at the pinnacle of swordsmanship, compared to your tiny Qingyun City's Yi family. How can you possibly compare? Seeing Yu Cheng starting to act all high and mighty, Xingshi showed clear disgust and immediately retorted, "You two are at it again. If you continue to target Yi Cheng like this, I will ignore you." Despite being warned, Yu Cheng still wouldn't keep quiet, determined to mock and belittle Yi Chen's background, and reached out to touch the activation button on the mountain peak. Both Jingxi and Yi Chun were slightly startled, but they didn't seem particularly interested. The moment young Master Zhao's finger made contact, a brilliant halo suddenly erupted, enveloping the entire mountain. Heaven and earth seemed to turn upside down, as if the world was about to collapse. He gripped the sword tightly in his hand and began to chant, "Grandmaster Sword Intent, represent me. One day I will become a renowned Sword Dao Grandmaster." Hearing Yu Cheng's arrogant boasting, the two spirit beasts, Xiaobai couldn't help but burst into laughter. "With this kind of virtue, you want to become a Grandmaster, old monster? What's wrong?" Seeing Xiao Jio's unease, he asked, but the question was quite cryptic. "You idiot, this is the sword we used to slay Xiang Lu." He then turned to the idiot who was clutching his head. "I wonder if this guy's even had enough to eat." Yi Chun couldn't understand why his head was pounding like it was being split open. Something was buzzing inside his head, making him incredibly uncomfortable. Yu Cheng turned triumphantly, his sword humming softly in his hand, a smug grin spreading across his lips. "Now, I can finally create sword intent with a great Yu sword." Suddenly, he noticed Yi Chun was distracted, not paying any attention to his words. This infuriated Yu Cheng to the point of explosion. Yin Gang's jaw dropped. He showered Yu Cheng with endless praise, claiming this was the first time he'd witnessed such a wondrous sight. He then attempted to replicate Yu Cheng's feat, causing the mountain to tremble slightly before returning to stillness. Seeing this, the young master of the Yu family became even more smug. He mocked Yun Gang, causing him to flush crimson with anger. All the admiration he had felt for Yu Cheng moments before vanished like smoke. Elder Mo beckoned Yun Gang closer, speaking in hushed tones. Yi Chun felt a pang of worry, fearing that Elder Mo would scold Yun Gang. But Jing Shi quickly comforted him. Sure enough, in a secluded corner, Elder Mo began to tell a story. "Your family's origins trace back to one of the few clans fortunate enough to escape the great calamity of the ancient war. That earth-shattering war annihilated countless great families, reducing them to ashes in an instant. Rivers of blood flowed, staining the earth crimson, resentment overflowing, impossible to appease. Recalling the tragic memories of the past truly sent chills down one's spine." Elder Mo continued the story, lost in thought. "In the beginning, the sky was as blue as this, so clear that not a single cloud could be seen. Your grandfather, what did he expect of you?" Suddenly asked about the deceased's wishes. Yin Gang was flustered, unsure how to respond. The abrupt question left Yin Gang bewildered, but he answered honestly nonetheless. "He wanted me to lead, to revive our clan, to restore the Pang family to its former glory." Elder Mo sternly reminded him, his voice full of authority. "Always remember, on your shoulders rests the hope of the entire Pang family. If you don't dedicate yourself to cultivation, when will you ever earn the recognition of the astral fragment? How will you shoulder this responsibility, revive the hope of the entire clan? Think carefully now. Tell me about the Xingqian Sui. This is an ancient divine weapon, a treasured heirloom of the Pang family since ancient times. In this world of divine power, besides those with Pang blood, no one can wield it." Yi Cheng glanced at the two of them. Their conversation seemed to be quite tense. Yu Cheng suddenly provoked Yi Chun, interrupting his train of thought. Yi Chun stepped closer to the sword. The buzzing in his head grew louder and louder. An earth-shattering sound, like a landslide, startled even Yu Cheng. But then, everything quickly returned to normal. Before Yi Chun could understand what was happening, Yu Cheng rushed over, mocking him as a useless, talentless fool, completely devoid of any swordsmanship aptitude. A surge of anger welled up inside Yi Chun. Neither of them noticed the ground beneath them violently trembling. From afar, Yu Shan sensed the unusual movement of the great Yu sword. Xiao Changqing, the master of the purple sword manor, was meditating peacefully when he suddenly heard a strange sound. The great Yu sword trembled once more. Yu Shan hurriedly flew towards Mount Sword Sheath. The first thing that struck Yu Cheng's eyes were massive boulders crashing down. For 1,000 years, the great Yu sword had shown no signs of activity. Could it be that today, a major event was occurring. Yishan noticed the young master's arrival. Yushan looked at the small cat staring at him with a peculiar gaze, a hint of suspicion arising in his heart, but he quickly dismissed the thought. The young master approached old Mo respectfully, bowing his head. Old Mo, do you know why the great Yu sword suddenly stirred? He shook his head. Yu Cheng immediately spoke, his tone full of arrogance. Of course, it's because of this young master. Yushan didn't believe him, but the disciple of, I still firmly believe that I am the reason Yushan is powerless. I need to tell him the truth to knock him off his high horse. For over 10 years, since I was 3, I've touched the great Yu sword so much it's almost worn out, yet there's been no reaction at all. I think you're overthinking it. Yu Cheng's face turned purple with rage. He was convinced that if it wasn't him, then it must be that good-for-nothing Yichan, who would make the great Yu sword tremble. Seeing Yu Cheng's disrespectful and insolent behavior, Yushan immediately reprimanded him sternly. If you dare speak to a guest so thoughtlessly again, you will be grounded. As soon as he finished speaking, a tremor, even stronger than before, suddenly occurred. A blinding light erupted, revealing an inscription on the towering mountain. The Emperor's weapon emerges. Chaos is coming. Before everyone's astonished eyes, the great Yu sword was unsheathed, its majestic blade revealed. The sword soared into the sky, then shrunk down to a size fit for a single person to wield. It soared through the air, ripping through the wind, returning to its true master. Witnessing the great Yu sword flying straight towards him, Yu Cheng was secretly delighted, as happy as if he had struck gold. He was convinced that he was the chosen swordsmanship genius. But the greater the hope, the deeper the disappointment. The sword merely brushed past him like a gentle breeze, then softly stopped before the person he had just scorned as trash, Yichun. Yichun was stunned, staring at the sword that was silently waiting before him. A powerful sword aura emanated from the great Yu sword, forcing those standing afar, even experts like Xiao Changqing, to narrow their eyes. Yichun reached out and grasped the sword. He was bewildered, completely clueless about what was happening. But the strange light on the sword's body suddenly blazed brilliantly. Yu Cheng screamed in despair, unable to believe his eyes. The great Yu sword had chosen Yi Chun as its master. Yun Gang, silent until now, finally spoke. What's going on? Yi Chen kaimnirepliet. Just now that sword flew towards me. I barely touched it. The great Yu sword actually accepted him as its master. Yu Chunglao immediately lunged forward, attempting to snatch the precious sword back. His sudden appearance startled Yi Chun. Before he could react, he was sent flying dozens of meters, leaving him severely injured, coughing up blood. Yushan rushed forward in a panic to help his younger brother up. Xiao Changqing coldly stepped over his 2 beloved sons, leaving behind a disdainful remark. Useless. Both were surprised by their father's appearance. Father, you've left seclusion earlier than expected? Xiao Changqing walked towards Yi Chun, reaching out to touch the great Yu sword, but suddenly stopped. He realized the Emperor's weapon had just found its master, so it wouldn't allow others to touch it for the time being. Xiao Changqing turned to speak with Yi Chun, inquiring about how he felt. But Yishan still couldn't understand what was happening. He only felt that the strange sensation from before had completely vanished. Xiao Changqing requested to examine the Emperor's weapon. Yushan curiously ran to ask his father, Father, is some kind of upheaval about to happen? Although unsure of the other man's intentions, Yishan obediently let him touch him. Changqing placed his hand on Yishan, but detected no reaction. He then asked Yishan to utilize his Yuan power. In an instant, the vast universe suddenly shone brilliantly. Yet Changqing still didn't see any movement from the Emperor's weapon. He immediately turned to ask Yushan, Yushan, when the Emperor's weapon appeared, did you see anything unusual happen? Yushan then recounted the 8 strange characters from before to his father. The Emperor's weapon emerges. Chaos is imminent. Upon hearing this, Changqing was deeply shaken. He looked up at the sky, lost in thought and murmuring, Chaos is imminent. That prophecy, it was true. Xiao Changqing escorted Yi Chun back to the mansion. Just as they stepped inside, the door slammed shut, leaving those following behind feeling a sense of unease. Why did the two need to speak in private? Yushan reluctantly instructed everyone to wait outside. Princess Xing, she wanted to inquire about Yi Chen's condition, but Yushan only shook his head silently, then suddenly turned towards the door, murmuring to himself, "Father, could it be that something truly unfortunate has befallen you?" Elder Mo urged Xing she to wait outside, and had to assure her that Yi Chan was fine before she would leave. Seeing the princess's worried expression, Yu Chung couldn't help but make a sarcastic remark. "Cousin, you really don't understand. Why do you care so much about that brat?" His words made Xiao Jio and Xiao Bai roll their eyes in exasperation. Why is that careless Xiao Yuqing so loudmouthed? Hasn't his face been slapped enough yet? Inside the room, Xiao Chongqing was conversing with Yi Chun, inquiring about his background. It turned out that Yi Cheng's father was a close friend, a brother-in-arms who trained alongside Zhang Chongqing in martial arts. Chongqing spoke of Yi Cheng's father's long-held wish, his desire for Yi Cheng to join the Purple Sword Manor and inherit his legacy. Chongqing solemnly asked Yi Chun, "Are you willing to join the Purple Sword Manor and become my disciple?" Yi Chun was utterly astonished, completely taken aback by this prestigious invitation from the manor lord himself. After a heartfelt conversation, the two emerged from the study. Chongqing formally announced to Yushan, "From this day forward, Yi Chun is officially a disciple of our Purple Sword Manor. Yushan, please escort Yi Chun to his quarters and see to his needs." Yushan was still reeling in astonishment when Yu Qing loudly protested, his words laced with sarcasm. "Father, Yi Chun is nothing but a wastrel, without a shred of sword intent." Xiao Chongqing furrowed his brows and sternly rebuked, "Show some respect. From now on, Yi Chun is your senior brother. Treat him with the courtesy he deserves." This action was a direct blow to his pride. Yu Qing roared in indignation, "Father, how can this little brat walk all over me?" Xiao Bai, witnessing the human drama unfold, felt a surge of amusement. A pang of jealousy stabbed at Yun Gang's heart. Yishan had just arrived and was already accepted as an introductory disciple. Elder Mo interrupted Yun Gang's train of thought, reminding him to focus on cultivating with Yi Shen diligently, and not to slack off. Yun Gong hastily obeyed. The door to Yi Ling Ni's room burst open. A tall figure rushed in immediately after. However, the girl in the room remained calmly standing before the mirror, leisurely brushing her long hair. "Yi Qing Tian, what are you doing here again?" Seeing Ling Ni's unusual calmness, Yi Qing Tian couldn't help but feel suspicious. It was so noisy just now. Why is it so quiet now? To hide his embarrassment, Yi Qingqing's only option was to find scapegoat. "Yi Linger, you better not try anything funny, or I will make sure Yi Chun dies a horrible death." The cruel words filled Linger with rage. "Xiao Chun will be fine," she screamed internally. "Die a horrible death? You're the one who deserves that." Yi Qingqing just sneered. Early morning at the Gong Nai training grounds, Yu Chung stood on the cliff edge, yelling Yi Chen's name, but only the whistling wind answered him. He pondered for a moment. Although no one has ever descended into the cloud mist, that brat couldn't have died that easily, right? Remembering Yi Chun plunging into the abyss. If Father finds out, he'll definitely strangle me. Father warned me not to touch him. Yet I never learn. A thought flashed through his mind. Running away is the best option. Besides, it seemed no one had seen him today. Yu Chung took to his heels and fled. Yun Gang stood beside him, witnessing the scene unfold in stunned silence. Im Nokuwath, I would never slink away like this. Before Yu Chung could escape, Yi Chen's furious roar echoed through the air, freezing him in his tracks. From the deep abyss, Yi Chun soared upwards, his great Yu sword gleaming, landing on the ground with a spectacular leap. Yu Cheng's jaw dropped in astonishment. You're still alive?" Yu Chung stammered, a hint of defiance in his voice. "Disappointed, are you?" Yi Chen retorted, his tone dripping with sarcasm. Yi Chen's words struck Yu Chung like a physical blow, leaving him speechless with rage. Fury ignited within him, and Yu Chung resolved to finish Yi Chen off once and for all. Gone was the fear in Yi Chen's eyes, replaced by a calm confidence. He was ready, poised to counterattack the moment his opponent made a move. Yu Chung began to weave his magic. "Myriad techniques, heavenly collapse," he roared. An immense surge of energy erupted from Yu Cheng's sword, transforming it into a blazing phoenix soaring through the air. With all his might, Yu Cheng unleashed his deadliest attack. As a result, not only was Yi Chun completely unharmed, but his own sword was also broken in two. The sheer force of the impact even injured Xiao Yuqing. He flung the useless blade away, determined to use his own prized sword for this duel. Xiao Yuqing raised his hand towards the sky, casting a spell to summon his sword. Possessing such a powerful weapon made Xiao Yuqing incredibly arrogant. He began to introduce his sword with a flourish. This is the Blood Sword, a treasured artifact of the Xiao family sword tomb, forged from thousand-year-old black iron, possessing legendary power. Its sharpness is unmatched in the world, second to none. He threatened Yi Chun. Even if your body is as hard as legend says, my blood sword can still slice you into 100 pieces. Yi Chun couldn't understand why Xiao Yuqing was so determined to see him dead. Xiao Yuqing answered his unspoken question. Ever since you set foot in this manor, everyone's attention has been on you. You are a thorn in my side. What makes you so special to deserve such preferential treatment? With that, he unleashed a clone technique, creating countless illusions that surrounded Yi Shan. All of them launched their attacks simultaneously. Yi Shan, completely caught off guard. Yi Chun barely managed to block the blow with his great Yu sword, his body sent flying backward. Xiao Yuqing swiftly soared into the air, unleashing a deadly strike aimed directly at Yi Chun. Being a novice in martial arts, Yi Chun only knew a single sword technique, while his opponent had honed his swordsmanship to a transcendent level. It was a clearly uneven match, one side possessing overwhelming power, the other still green. Yi Chun, at a disadvantage, desperately parried each attack, but all his efforts proved futile. His opponent's sharp blade pierced through Yi Chun's body, crimson blood staining his armor. Xiao Yuqing was filled with triumph as he saw his opponent struck. But before his arrogant smile could fully bloom, he was stunned by Yi Chun's unexpected action. Yi Chun dropped his great Yu sword, gripping the blade embedded in his chest. Yuqing's ruthlessness ignited a furious rage within him. Yi Chun unleashed a deadly strike with his bare hands, because for him, his older sister was still waiting to be rescued. Yi Chun couldn't simply fall like this. He used the heaven-devouring art, tightening his grip around Xiao Yuqing's throat. Yi Chun's spiritual energy radiated with terrifying intensity. He rapidly absorbed his opponent's vital energy, leaving the enemy screaming in utter despair. Just then, Princess Xingji suddenly appeared. Not only her, but everyone was present, witnessing the precarious situation. Worried, Xiao Jiu immediately flew to Yu Cheng's rescue, striking Yi Shan's head to force him to release his grip. Yu Cheng was freed, but collapsed from exhaustion. However, the evil thoughts within Yi Shan hadn't completely vanished. Witnessing Yi Shan's cruelty, Xiao Bai gasped in horror. Xiao Jiu quickly explained the situation to her. Any cultivation technique, when practiced too hastily, can easily give rise to inner demons. Yi Shan's heart was consumed by a thirst for power, but a shred of reason remained, preventing him from absorbing Xing Ji's vital energy. The princess immediately realized Yi Shan was succumbing to qi deviation. She clasped her hands and chanted an incantation, trying to help Yi Shan maintain his sanity, to prevent him from losing control completely. Maintain your composure. Guide the primordial energy to circulate through the 4 major meridians. Yi Shan riditet in agony. Yun Gang held him down with one hand while trying to suppress the raging evil with the other. Jing, she continued chanting. A heart as calm as water, a mind as clear as a mirror, thoughts as pure as ice, heaven and earth united as one. Yi Shan felt as if he was being torn apart. His good and evil sides were fiercely locked in a desperate struggle within him. Moments later, Yi Shan gradually regained consciousness. The bloodshot, crazed eyes from before had returned to normal. Xiao Bai, witnessing the princess's extraordinary abilities, couldn't stop showering her with praise. Yi Shan looked at Xiao Yuqing with a worried expression. He was completely lifeless. Jing, she asked him solicitously, but Yi Shan could only wallow in guilt over what he had done. Princess Jing Shi, if it weren't for you, I would have drained Xiao Yuqing's life force. How am I supposed to face Master now? The princess comforted him, promising to speak on his behalf to Jiu. Elder Mo meticulously observed and assessed Yu Cheng's condition. His sword was shattered, his cultivation completely destroyed. Yun Gang, with a worried expression mirroring Yi Chen's, whispered in his ear, "Kid, you've caused a huge disaster. Do you know you almost took the life of Xiao Gongzi, the son of the Xiao family head?" Chang Qing looked at his son, not only showing no anger, but instead considering this a good thing. He had other arrangements for Yu Cheng, advising everyone not to grieve too much. Yi Chun, filled with remorse, apologized to his master, but Chang Qing simply waved it off. It's all right. Consider this a lesson for him, to understand that there's always a higher mountain and a wider sky. In this world, no one should consider themselves above others, not even a little bit. Yu Cheng awoke, tears streaming down his face as he heard his father's words. They were undoubtedly tears of regret, as a moment of impulsiveness had resulted in such severe consequences. In a distant land, there was a mountain called Shaoxiaishan, located in the west of the vast Shanghai region. A group of people were moving forward, led by Yi Qingsheng. He seemed to be conversing with some unseen entity. Shaoxiaishan, I've come again. This time, I must return with some spoils of war. From a steep cliff face, a thick and frigid energy radiated out, blanketing the area. A gigantic hand, as black as ink, suddenly appeared, ripping through the cliff. It snatched each person in the group, pulling them into its mouth to devour them. Their agonizing screams echoed throughout the mountain, filled with sorrow. Only after the hand had sated its hunger did Yi Qingcheng dare to speak. 100 lives I've offered to you. You should offer me something in return. With just a low growl from the hand, Yi Qingsheng was sucked into the air. It used a sharp claw to place a mysterious object on Yi Qingsheng's forehead. Then he was dropped into the abyss below. The giant hand continued, demanding a new transaction within 49 days. It required 1,000 souls each day. Qingsheng agreed in agony. He forced himself to sit up, his body aching. Qingsheng wondered what the object placed on his forehead could be. With a wave of his hand, he explained, "This soul destruction technique is just a small down payment. Once you step out of here, anything you desire, I can grant it to you." Scene changes to the training grounds. Yi Chun diligently cultivated his sword qi, but all his efforts were in vain. He seemed unable to harness even a sliver of the great Yu sword's power. Xiao Jiao, with his experience, observed from afar and offered an explanation. The great Yu sword hasn't fully awakened yet, so naturally, you can't wield its power. But Xiao Bai was completely clueless, and upon asking a question, was immediately scolded by Xiao Jiao as a stupid dog. Enraging Xiao Bai, who retaliated with a swift kick, sending him sprawling. Even if I am a divine beast, can't you show me some respect? Yi Chen paused for a moment to rest, his heart heavy with worry about the approaching 3-month deadline. But he was completely ignorant in the way of the sword. He recalled absorbing Xiao Yuqing's yuan force last time, but he hadn't yet refined it. Yi Chen sat down and focused on cultivating his inner strength. In a meditative posture, his mind serene and at ease, lips barely parted, he breathed slowly and gently. Qi circulated through his meridians like slumbering dragons and elephants, a latent power potent enough to shake mountains. His spirit focused, the void seemed to stand still, eyes merging into one. He used the force of his qi and blood to shatter the jade pendant of the patriarch. Qi flowed to the Baihui acupoint, impacting the run and du meridians. The microcosmic orbit circulated freely. Yishan trained so intensely that sweat poured down like rain. Jingxi arrived just then, her face etched with worry. Old Mo offered an explanation. It seems the dragon elephant, demonic dog technique, has awakened a microcosmic orbit. Yishan opened his eyes, comforting the princess. With my current strength, defeating Yi Xuanqing won't be a problem. She fell silent, pondering for a moment before saying, I just don't know what tricks he'll pull. Xiao Yuqing lay in his sickbed, his face pale and lifeless. Xiao Changqing carefully examined Yu Cheng's pulse, but his face was etched with worry. The situation seemed grave. Severe blood loss, internal force heavily damaged. He added, Yu Cheng may never wield a sword again. Hearing this, Xiao Yushan could only let out a heavy sigh. The second young master of the prestigious Jian Shan Manor, unable to wield a sword from now on. It was a cruel truth that his brother might never accept. Changqing consoled his son. He had warned Yu Cheng not to provoke Yi Shan. If only he had listened, if only he were less reckless like you. Yu Shan remained silent. Xiao Changqing pulled out an old book from his robe, the Zi Yi Xing Jing Jian. He instructed Yu Shan to give the book to Yu Cheng. When he awoke, he himself needed to enter secluded cultivation immediately. He explained the book's origins. This is a secret manual passed down from our Xiao ancestors, suited only for those without sufficient, a natural talent, brimming with vitality, his once frail body now honed and strengthened. He never thought he'd have to resort to asking Yi Ling Er for help. At the Yi residence, she was engrossed in reading classic of mountains and seas. When the image of the nine-headed serpent Xiang Lu caught her eye. "Isn't this a disciple of exceptional talent?" she mused, lost in her fascination. She was startled by the sudden appearance of Yi Ching-chung. She quickly closed the book in her hands. Ling Er's eyes filled with disdain as she looked at him, wondering what this man was doing here. "Ye vink, chenk flashet abidait, yoviad simida," saying he came to visit her. His words immediately put Ling Er on high alert. He continued to fan himself with his folding fan, teasing, "Little sister, being confined here seems to have enhanced your beauty." Yi Ling Er's face darkened. She wanted nothing more than to hurl insults at him. "You hypocritical scoundrel, you're truly disgusting," she thought to herself. She remained silent, simply turning her back and walking away. Yi Qingsheng gently reminded Ling Er of their promise from years past. The 3-month deadline was approaching. "Little sister, it's almost time for you to be of use." Ling Er paused, thinking to herself, "The same goes for you." At Purple Sword Manor, Yi Chan was meditating, cultivating his martial arts, under Mu Xingxi's worried gaze. Suddenly, he opened his eyes and slowly asked, "Is the dragon-elephant demonic art about to awaken again? Just one more cycle. The 3-month promise is almost here. I have some confidence now." Mu Xingxi hurriedly spoke up. "Neither of your cousins are a match for Yi Qingtian, let alone you. Moreover, with Yi Qingtian's personality, he definitely won't let you and your sister have your way." Seeing Yi Chun lost in thought, she gently comforted him. "Don't worry." On the other side, her sister, Yin Gang, suddenly burst into the room, breathlessly reporting, "Princess, Elder Mo, something terrible has happened." Hearing this, the other two were startled. Elder Mo quickly regained his composure, turning to ask Yin Gang, "What's the matter? Why all the panic?" The soldier Yun Gang trembled as he answered Elder Mo. General Wang Tianyi is dead. He was the one commanding our holy court's 100,000 troops." The words were like a bolt from the blue, leaving Mu Xingxi unable to contain her shock. She gasped, "What?" Even Elder Mo's eyes widened in disbelief as he exclaimed, "The crown prince has always harbored ambitions to conquer the world. Now that Wang Tianyi held the military power, I fear the holy court will launch a war against the neighboring countries." Witnessing this scene, Yi Shun wore a puzzled expression. "You're a renowned general. Why not assist His Majesty in eradicating demons, instead of listening to the first prince?" Mu Xingxi immediately retorted, "You don't need to know." General Wang was deeply loyal to the emperor, but his son had been close with the first prince for a long time. On the other side, Yin Gang continued to probe His Highness's thoughts. "Wang Tianyi is just a spoiled, weak young master. What does he know about leading troops in battle?" He pondered for a moment, then replied, "Wang Tianyi is narrow-minded, short-sighted, and doesn't know his own limitations. I fear he'll be goaded by the first prince into recklessly rushing onto the battlefield." Hearing this, Yin Gang couldn't contain himself and blurted out, "Is it really that serious?" As for Yi Shun, he was calmly calculating his every move. "This traitor dares to defy our princess's mansion. This is absolutely unforgivable. We cannot let Her Highness Xing Ji fall into his hands." Xiao Bai, while gathering information, warned, "It looks like a war is about to break out." Xiao Jiu beside him agreed, "If Zhu Yin appears now, the situation will become even more chaotic." Xiao Bai replied, "If that lecherous old man Zhu Yin comes." But before he could finish, Xiao Jiu interrupted, "I know if that fiend appears, the entire Shanghai continent will surely descend into chaos." Meanwhile, at the border of the Holy Court, a mighty army of 100,000 soldiers was approaching the Bei Rong Kingdom's fortress. In the Bei Rong Kingdom, fierce gales howled, sweeping away everything in their path. The air grew thick and heavy. From the distance, countless legions of imperial guards were marching in this direction. Suddenly, Wang Tianyi spoke to the crown prince. "Don't you forget the promise you made to me all those years ago." Hearing this, the other man agreed to the deal, seizing Bei Rongguo. "Mu Xingxi will be yours." Having achieved his goal, Wang Tianyi roared, "Kill them all," and spurred his horse straight towards the front lines, leading his troops to breach the city walls. But while Yi Chun was in secluded cultivation, his eldest senior brother suddenly appeared, filling him with suspicion. "Senior brother, why are you here?" Despite trying to maintain a calm exterior, Yichen's heart was in turmoil. Could it be because of Xiao Yuqing that he's come to find trouble with me? He has already reached the divine ability realm, while I'm only at the middle stage of the spirit condensation realm. His eldest senior brother suddenly raised the sword in his hand and said, "Before I went into seclusion, master instructed me to urge you in your cultivation. Hasn't even touched a single sword technique. How am I supposed to explain this to my father?" Yichen scratched his head, embarrassed as he replied to his senior brother, "Brother, I have to go to Qingyan Terrace, so—" However, his senior brother continued his moral lecture, only focusing on immediate benefits. Is a grave taboo in cultivation. He droned on, his words never ceasing, making Yi Chun feel like he was facing his own father. Suddenly, Mu Xingxi appeared from behind and spoke up. "You're starting your chanting again." Yi Chun and his senior brother immediately bowed respectfully to her. Mu Xingxi got straight to the point. "Senior brother, don't forget what you promised me." Hearing this, senior brother Yi agreed and excused himself. After he left the room, Mu Xingxi turned to Yi Chun and asked, "Are you still worried about the agreement 3 months from now?" He replied, "I do not fear a direct confrontation. It's just that Yi Qingcheng often resorts to despicable tactics, making him difficult to guard against. My sister is still in his hands." Suddenly, Mu Xingxi approached him with a sullen expression and spoke with a hint of reproach. "Is your sister all you care about? Do you not care for me at all?" The closer she got, the more Yishun unconsciously stepped back. However, Mu Xingxi seemed oblivious, murmuring to herself softly, "Do I hold no weight in your heart at all?" Cornered, Yishun blurted out, "I am your guard. I will protect you for life." Hearing this, Mu Xingxi seemed somewhat appeased. "Very well then, don't forget what you just said." Then, she hurried away, her face flushed, leaving Yishun rooted to the spot. He clenched his fists, thinking to himself, "Therefore, tomorrow, I absolutely cannot allow myself to fail." At the Yi residence, Ye Ling upon seeing Ye Ling Tian approaching, immediately showed her disgust. "You're like a lingering ghost." Yi Qing Tian didn't seem to care about her attitude. He calmly took out a large jar and said, "You agreed to my terms. Now it's time to fulfill your promise." Hearing this, Yi Ling suddenly recalled what he had said 3 months ago. "If you don't want Yi Chan to die, then obediently listen to me." She cautiously opened the jar. Inside were twin heart goo worms, 2 of them, 1 male and 1 female. Once consumed, their bodies would merge into one. Linga asked suspiciously, "If I consume this, will you spare Xiao Chan?" Yi Qing Tian quickly replied, "He's my younger cousin. How could I truly want to take his life?" And so, both Yi Ling and Yi Qing Tian swallowed a goo worm. Insects squirmed in the small jar. After swallowing the insects whole, she emphasized, "Don't forget your promise." Yi Qingcheng reassured her, "Don't worry," and promptly left. As he walked away, he sneered inwardly. Such a foolish woman. But he didn't know that Yi Linger had seen right through him. She smiled faintly, thinking to herself, "The one who thinks himself clever calls others foolish." Yi Qingcheng maintained his arrogant expression, confidently declaring, "Yi Shun, tomorrow is your death anniversary." As for Yi Shun, he remained resolute. "Qingyan platform, I'm coming." Yi Linger's expression remained unchanged as she slowly said, "Yi Qingtian, I want you to live a life worse than death." At the Qingyun platform, the wind whistled through the crevices in the rocks. "Yeah." Qingtian was in discussion with the clan elders. Yi Tianxiong spoke with a stern voice. The Yi family head inquired, "Are all the preparations complete?" Yi Qingtian confidently replied, "Father, please rest assured. I've been meticulous, not overlooking a single detail." Yi Yuanjun, the second elder, expressed his doubt. So, Yi Linger has obediently submitted and consumed the heart goo worm. Yi Qingtian immediately responded, "I used her younger brother's life as leverage." She immediately complied without hesitation. Yi Yuanto added. The third elder remained worried for his grandson. "Yi Shun, that boy has always had a kind heart. I fear he won't be able to do it." "Qingtian, it's almost time to go on stage. You haven't taken the pure spirit pill yet." Yi Qingtian was not in a hurry. On the contrary, he calmly replied, "There's no rush. I want him to witness my victory firsthand." Upon hearing this, Yi Yuanjun let out a triumphant exclamation. "This brilliant move will make that brat taste the bitterness of despair." Then they burst into laughter, reveling in their wicked scheme, completely oblivious to the presence of another group. Yi Chun and Wen Guang saw Yi Qingtian and those old men, wearing arrogant expressions on their faces, and immediately spoke with disdain. So arrogant, you don't even know who will die yet. Elder Mo calmly advised. They must have come prepared. Yi-chun, you must be extremely careful. Wen Guang gritted his teeth and thought to himself, these damn dogs, they think they have victory in their grasp. Mu Xingxi suddenly stepped forward and tightly grasped Yi-chun's hand. She sincerely said, just give it your all in the competition, and I will take care of the arrangements. Hearing Yi-chun call her Xingxi, Princess Mu Xingxi hurriedly spoke. Shouldn't you address me properly? After you win, don't you dare call me your highness again. Suddenly, war drums thundered, signaling the imminent start of the battle. The majestic sound immediately captivated everyone present. A gentle breeze swept through as Yi-chun and Yi Qingtian stepped onto the arena, ready to clash and determine the victor. Yi Qingtian called out, younger cousin, it's been a while. You've become quite the handsome and distinguished young man. However, Yi-chun paid no attention to his honeyed words. His mind solely focused on finding his older sister. Qingtian quickly said, don't be hasty, and gestured for Yi-chun to look to his right. Instantly, a guard under Qingtian's command escorted Yi Linger forward. The moment the siblings recognized each other, the guard tightly restrained Yi Ling, preventing her from making any sudden moves. But elsewhere, Yi-chun's senior brother was concealed within the dense undergrowth. He silently observed the unfolding events. He thought to himself, could this be the Yi Linger my cousin mentioned? She doesn't seem to possess any discernible Yuanli fluctuations, appears quite frail. To be used as a bargaining chip like this, how pitiful. On the Azure Cloud platform, life and death are determined by fate. Outsiders are strictly forbidden from interfering. Both Yi Qingtian and Yi-chun had reached the mid-stage of spirit condensation realm. The mid-stage spirit condensation realm. Witnessing his younger brother's breakthrough, Yi Qingtian praised. Not bad. You've advanced a minor realm in just 3 short months. Yi-chun thought to himself, fortunately, old Mo gave me the dragon transformation pill. Otherwise, how could I have broken through in just 3 months? Yi-chun suddenly circulated his Yuanli and declared, now that we're at the same realm, shall we begin? However, Yi Qingtian said, hold on. With that, he took out a golden pill, radiating a brilliant light. Then Yi Qingtian spoke again. Yi-chun, do you know what this is? I can guarantee that even the princess's mansion has never possessed such a precious pill. Yi-chun remained silent, carefully observing Yi Qingtian's every move. Suddenly, he popped the spirit pill into his mouth, absorbing the surging spiritual energy from the pill. In the blink of an eye, Yi Qingtian's cultivation broke through, reaching the late stage of the spirit condensation realm. Late stage spirit condensation realm. Yi-chun was astonished, thinking to himself. He advanced a minor realm in an instant. Witnessing this, old Mo exclaimed, a pure spirit pill. Hearing this, Mu Xingxi pondered. It seems this treasure was bestowed by the crown prince. She compared it in her mind. Even my mansion doesn't possess such a miraculous treasure. Old Mo frowned and thought. This is clearly an internal matter of the Yi family. What could the crown prince be planning? Meanwhile, Yi Qingtian's cultivation level broke through, reaching the peak of the spirit condensation realm. The peak. Witnessing this scene, Yi Tianxiong observed the developments and said pensively, this is unbelievable. He actually broke through 2 major realms consecutively, reaching the peak of spirit condensation. Yi Yuanjun also voiced his agreement. It seems this supreme grade Qingtian kid is highly regarded by the crown prince. Clan leader, this time Yi-chun is like a fish on a chopping block, just waiting for Qingtian to carve him up at will. On the martial arts stage, Yi Qingtian smugly puffed out his chest and said loudly, so what? This young master's natural talent is far superior to yours. He displayed his arrogance while thinking to himself, I didn't expect to advance 2 more realms. The treasures of the crown prince's estate are truly worthy of their reputation. Yi-chun calmly retorted, unable to win, you resort to drugs. You truly are an unparalleled genius. Hearing this, Yi Qingtian was speechless, thinking to himself, this brat dares to look down on me. However, he still boldly provoked Yi-chun. Beg for mercy now, and you might still be spared. Who knows? I might be generous enough to let you reminisce about your sister. Your sister before she died? Yi Shun retorted confidently, his voice dripping with disdain. Cut the crap. Who lives and who dies is yet to be determined. With that, he immediately took a fighting stance, thinking to himself, the dragon elephant canine demon skill has awakened to the 5th level of the true heaven realm. What do I have to fear from you? Yi Shun's gaze was resolute, filled with determination, making anyone who looked at him completely believe in his strength. Witnessing this, Yin Gang couldn't help but ponder. That second young master, Xiao, has also reached the peak of the spirit condensation realm, and yet he was almost completely drained of his true essence by Yi Shun. Xiao Bai and Xiao Jiu commented with boredom. This fight is so dull. It's not as interesting as cultivating on our own. As for Yi Qingtian, he was secretly observing Yi Shun with a furious expression, thinking to himself, still talking big even when you're about to die. Yi Tian didn't hesitate any longer, immediately raising his voice. I'll let you experience the power of the ultimate realm. Yi Shan responded excitedly. Come on, let me see if your so-called ultimate can defeat me. In an instant, Yi Tian unleashed his ultimate technique, the Han Bingju, creating countless sharp ice shards that hurtled towards his opponent. Yi Shan calmly said Han Bingju again. He quickly executed the Long Xiang Hu Ti, forming a solid defense against the fierce attack. As expected, the ice shards shattered into countless tiny fragments, leaving Xin Tian astonished. He neutralized my Han Bingju again. After neutralizing the attack, Yi Shun confidently shouted, Your Han Bingju is useless against me. Try a different move. Hearing this, he roared in anger. You think the Han Bingju only has one move? Try my Han Bingzhen. Try my frozen ice needles. Immediately, Yi Qingtian created a massive ice drill, sending it hurtling towards Yi Chun. However, he remained calm, casually saying, the same old trick, nothing new. Yi Chen sivifli shattered Yi Qingtian's Han Bingzhen, then exclaimed, This is your Han Bingzhen. This is your frozen ice needle. You call something this big a needle? Witnessing this scene, Mu Xingxi hurriedly called out his name. But Yi Qingtian quickly unleashed a mystérieux technique. The real show seemed to have just begun. He immediately unleashed the Han Bing Hua Yuzhan, frozen ice transforming rain needles, causing the ice shards to condense into sharp needles, swiftly encircling Yi Chun, leaving him no room to escape. He surveyed his surroundings, anxiety flashing in his eyes. This is bad, he thought to himself. Needles of ice surrounded him on all sides, leaving no path for retreat. In the next instant, tens of thousands of icy needles simultaneously pierced Yi Chen's body, penetrating deep into his meridians. The frigid energy drained Yi Chen's strength, causing him to collapse to the ground. Witnessing this scene, Yi Qingtian's face was filled with smug satisfaction. Well, Yi Chun, he said mockingly, my Han Bing needles can multiply 1,000-fold. Their transformations are limitless. How could you possibly escape? Once they enter your body, they swiftly seal your meridians, completely nullifying your Yuan force. Do you feel it now? The Yuan force throughout your body, completely sealed off. In the stands, Yitian Xiong slowly Sikit. The Han Bing needles, the highest realm of the Han Bing Ju, truly live up to their reputation. A mere milk drinker, a child. How could Yi Chun possibly stand against me? Yi Yuan Jun and Yi Yuan Tu echoed in unison. The patriarch speaks the truth. Yi Chun is still too green. Seal his Yuanli, and the rest will be child's play. When Guang anxiously asked Mo Lao, has Yi Chen's Yuanli been completely exhausted? He replied without hesitation. Frozen by ice, there's no need to rush. Xiao Bai and Xiao Jiu observed Yi Chen's pale face and continuously gossiped. He truly is trash, all talk and no action. Meanwhile, within Yi Chen's body, the young man's fiery spirit was burning intensely, melting the ice of Ye Vingtian. A moment later, Yi Chen suddenly opened his eyes wide and asked, Do you know? Just as Yi Qingtian revealed a puzzled expression, Yi Chen replied with a chillingly cold expression, You talk too much. The battle between Yi Chun and Yi Qingtian reached its climax. The dragon power hidden within Yi Chun exploded violently, reaching its peak. The water dragon combined with the golden elephant, confronting the terrifying ice demon art. Two earth-shattering energies collided, causing the heavens and earth to tremble violently. However, Yi Chen's power was not to be underestimated. He completely broke the seal just now. leaving Yi Qingtian utterly horrified. His eyes widened in disbelief. Impossible. I completely sealed his meridians. How can he still use his Yuan Qi? Before Yi Qingtian now stood a majestic and imposing Yi Chun, wielding the water dragon in his hand. Yi Chun confidently retorted, "My Yuan Qi is abundant, thanks to your incessant chatter." Left with no other choice, Yi Qingtian was forced to use his ultimate technique, the Frozen Domain. A colossal ice wall materialized, shielding him. At the same time, Yi Chun charged forward with astonishing speed. "Now it's your turn." Yi Tian immediately channeled his internal energy, an immense aura forming a smoky silhouette of a dragon and an elephant. This world-shaking divine skill is the dragon-elephant subduing demon skill. Qing Tian's eyes widened in shock once more, unable to believe a mere boy could unleash such earth-shattering power. The distance between the two rapidly closed. His thick ice wall instantly shattered. Before Yi Tian's fierce attack, Qing Tian was utterly astonished. Unbelievable. A brat like him could actually break through his frozen ice shield. He was sent flying back more than 10 meters by Yi Tian. Seeing his disciple sprawled out on the fighting stage, the old man anxiously yelled, "Qing Tian!" The surrounding crowd erupted in a clamor. This young boy actually managed to overcome a 2-level difference and defeat Qing Tian, the dragon elephant subduing demon skill. He's actually cultivated it to such a transcendental realm. The old man shook his head in disbelief, his face etched with astonishment. It's just common martial arts, nothing to worry about. Despite his tough talk, the old man was scared witless inside. How can this technique be so terrifyingly powerful? I underestimated that brat. On the other side of the arena, Yi Qingtian staggered to his feet, exclaiming in astonishment, "He's become this strong in just 3 short months." Witnessing Yi Chen's extraordinary power, his supporters erupted in cheers. They roared, "Well done, Yi Chen. Kill him." 3 months of arduous training had finally paid off. Indeed, Yi Chen's strength had far surpassed Yi Qingtian's. The graceful Jing, she couldn't hide the astonishment on her face. She thought to herself, "It's over already?" That was quick. In the arena, Yi Chun unleashed a thunderous punch, deciding the outcome of the match. Yi Qingtian, resigned to his fate, lay sprawled on the ground. He raised a hand to cover his face and roared towards Yi Chun, "Stop! Do you want to kill your own sister?" Those words were like a clap of thunder, shaking Yi Chun to his core. He immediately stopped. The dragon power within Yi Chun still surged and seethed. He coldly asked, "What do you mean?" Qingtian looked towards the distance. He said, "Look at your sister." Hearing this, Yi Chen instinctively followed his gaze. Sure enough, his sister was kneeling on the ground, blood continuously flowing from her mouth. Xiao Yushan, hidden in the bushes, wondered, no one touched her. Why is she suddenly spitting up blood? Yi Chen sensed something was wrong and grabbed Yi Qingtian by the collar, his voice a low growl as he demanded answers. "You despicable villain! How dare you lay a hand on my sister?" He retorted, "I didn't touch her. You're the one who hit your own sister. Don't you dare lie." The next words revealed the shocking truth. He asked Yi Chun, "Have you ever heard of the Twin Hearts Curse?" Yi Chun instantly released Yi Linger. Qing Tian continued smugly, "This powerful curse binds 2 people together, body and soul. If you punch me, Yi Linger will receive the same blow. If you kill me, Yi Linger will die along with me." Yi Chun furiously demanded, "You placed this wicked curse on my sister." He replied arrogantly, "You should be thanking me for stopping you just now. Otherwise, your sister would already be dead by your own hand." He then extended his hand, provoking Yi Chun, "Come on, hit me again." After learning of Qing Tian's sinister plot, despite the rage boiling within him, but Yi Chen could only grit his teeth and force out each word. "Yi Qingtian, you actually dare to use my only remaining relative." He replied coldly, "I won't fight back. Stand here and let you hit me? Do you think I'm that stupid?" He then let out a triumphant laugh, filled with contempt. Witnessing this, Jing Shi furiously shouted, "How could someone from the prestigious Yi family be raised to be such a heartless and unrighteous person?" The surrounding people couldn't contain their indignation. One of them exclaimed with resentment, "When those in authority are unjust, those below will be chaotic." The old man turned to Jing Shi with a worried tone. "I'm afraid Yi Chun can no longer fight back." Yi Gu cried out in despair, "Brother, Brother will be killed by Yi Qingtian. The situation was extremely critical, hanging by a thread, forcing Yigu to rack her brains, searching for a glimmer of hope. She had devised countless plans, but she never expected Yi Qingtian to resort to such despicable tactics. What to be done now? Xiao Yushan, witnessing Yi Qingtian's vile behavior, commented, "What a despicable and shameless tactic. The people of the Yi family." And yet he dared to use such despicable tactics on a frail young woman. Such bullying, such an abuse of power is absolutely unforgivable. As for Yi Qingtian, he maintained his shameless expression, brazenly provoking Yichun. "You don't dare to strike, do you? Then don't blame me for being ruthless." He channeled his energy into his hands, and in the blink of an eye, icy cold air condensed into countless sharp ice rings. A sharp ice blade, as pointed as a spear, formed in an instant. He lunged towards Yi Chun with terrifying speed. However, Yi Chun was not to be outdone. Dragon Elephant Return. A brilliant aura instantly enveloped Yi Chen's body, forming a solid shield. As expected, Qingtian's ordinary ice attack couldn't harm Yi Chen in the slightest. Instead, they shattered into countless fragments upon impact with Yi Chen's sturdy defense. Watching the ice shards fall like rain, Qingtian furiously condensed another wave of ice blades. Holding the sharp ice blade in his hand, he said smugly, "Let's see how long you can last. How long can your defensive barrier withstand this onslaught?" The second wave of attack commences. He unleashed another volley of razor-sharp ice blades, aimed at the dragon elephant shield. That dazzling brilliance. The outcome remained unchanged. They were completely unable to inflict any damage on Yishan. However, Yishan couldn't help but worry about the longevity of his defense. If this continued, his Yuan force would eventually be depleted. It seemed the opponent had also expended a considerable amount of internal energy. Qingtian furrowed his brows, his face contorted in frustration. His Yuan force was nearing its limit, yet he still couldn't shake his opponent's impenetrable defense. Suddenly, one of his subordinates tossed him a treasured sword. He urged Qingtian to use the sword to swiftly end the fight. Qingtian immediately seized the Han Bing sword, his eyes fixed on Yishan with a chilling glare. Gripping the sword tightly, Qingtian began to recount the sword's origins. The Yi family's Han Bing sword was forged from a meteorite from outer space. "I don't believe your turtle shell can withstand this," Zhishe roared. With those words, he launched himself into the air, delivering a fatal blow. A deafening clang resonated as the sharp blade struck Yi Chen's sturdy defense. The screech of grinding metal was piercing, almost unbearable. Shockingly, the blade split the seemingly impenetrable defense. Yi Chen took the full brunt of the attack, his body sent flying. Ling Er gasped, "Xiao Chun." Her voice was filled with panic. "I can't let Xiao Chun die," she thought to herself. "But if I keep witnessing this, what will I do later?" Ling Er was in turmoil. She was tormented by indecision and guilt. Quan Tian, without hesitation, launched another attack. This could be the finishing blow for Yi Chen. Facing imminent danger, his Yuanli nearly depleted, Yi Chen began to calculate. "My current Yuanli is insufficient. I fear I can't withstand this attack." Ling Er and the crowd shouted in unison, Yi Chen, I have an emperor weapon." A voice boomed. Hearing this, Yi Chen immediately turned towards the great Yu sword towering in the air. The tide began to turn. A sword from Yi Chen's side soared through the air. With lightning speed, Yi Chen reached out and grabbed the sword. Just as Qingtian was about to deliver the final blow, at the very last moment, Yi Chen intercepted the fatal sword strike. The sharp blade pierced through his body. Moreover, this great Yu sword possessed extraordinary hardness. Despite only blocking the attack, its power shattered the Han Bing sword into pieces, truly living up to its reputation. The surrounding onlookers gasped in astonishment. "Oh my God, it's broken." That was the Yi family's heirloom Han Bing sword. You just call that sword the Great Yu sword. Could it be the legendary ancient sword of the martial emperor? Another elder, still reeling from the shock, muttered with a grave expression. "An emperor's weapon is a divine weapon conceived by heaven and earth. How could it be in Yi Chen's possession?" Everyone who witnessed this earth-shattering scene was left speechless in awe. Even Ling Er couldn't help but be stunned. She took a deep breath, anxiously awaiting what would happen next. Jing Ji clasped his hands together, murmuring, "That was truly a close call." Pang Yungang breathed a sigh of relief, saying thankfully, "It's a good thing I insisted he take the Emperor's seal with him." He added with a proud look, "Otherwise, that kid would have been chopped into 8 pieces." The 2 cats chimed in, chattering excitedly. Xiaobai spoke first, his voice filled with admiration. "That old monster Yishan of yours is no joke. He actually beat that squinty-eyed guy to a pulp." Xiao Jiu seemed indifferent, letting out a long yawn, mumbling, "Sleepy again." Meanwhile, Qing Tian looked at Qing Han, fixated on his Bing sword, long broken in 2. Even in death, he couldn't believe his eyes. He gasped in astonishment. "The Diyu sword in your hand. Could it be?" Yishan calmly replied, "It is the Diyu sword you're thinking of." Qing Tian's face completely changed, his voice becoming low and dark. He growled, "Impossible. You, worthy of the Diyu sword's recognition? You're dreaming." At this moment, Yi Chun bravely advanced towards his opponent. Faced with his opponent's stillness, he asserted his dominance. "Believe it or not, it's up to you." With the Yi Qing's sword casually resting on his shoulder, his voice boomed with authority. "I, Yi Qing Tian, wielder of the great Yu sword, you are certainly no match for me. Therefore, I suggest you lift the insect poison from my sister." Faced with this unexpected proposal, Qing Tian remained silent. His eyes darted around, questioning himself incessantly. Why am I clearly 100 times stronger than him? Yet he always seems to have the upper hand. Yi Tian continued his provocation. "Lift the poison, and I'll give you a 3-move head start. How about that?" The primal energy within him surged to a crescendo. "If not, when the effects of the shun pill wear off, I'm afraid you won't have another chance to bargain with me." But from Qing Tian, there was still no response. He began to assess, calculating Yi Chen's current strength. He feared that with this level of power, Yi Chen would be no match for him. Could it be? Was there no other choice but to resort to that final technique? After waiting for a long time without a response, Yi Chen grew impatient and asked, "Yi Qing Tian, have you made up your mind?" Suddenly, he dropped the Han Bing sword he held tightly in his hand, and a terrifying, hair-raising killing intent began to emanate from his body. Yi Chen looked up at him, astonishment filling his eyes. Before him stood a completely different Yi Qing Tian. He hovered in midair, swirling purple energy enveloping his body. His voice became hoarse, like that of a stranger. "You forced me to do this. I, Qing Tian, cultivate demonic arts, and there's a heavy price to pay. If I weren't cornered, I wouldn't want to resort to this." Finishing his words, he unleashed a technique straight from hell, the soul destruction art. Countless small streams of energy shot out from his back. These energies, taking no concrete form, could ever be broken. Witnessing this strange technique for the first time, Yi Chun couldn't help but feel bewildered and confused. He tried to slash at the bizarre energy flow and exclaimed, "What kind of wicked sorcery is this?" But it was too late to grasp the perilous situation. Those sharp, murderous auras swiftly enveloped Yi Chen's entire body, dragging him down into the abyss of eternal hell. Yi Tianxiong, Starry Abyss, Chapter 9. Everyone was utterly astonished as the table suddenly turned in Qing Tian's favor. Xiaobai turned to Xiao Jiu and asked, "This old monster, there's an incredibly familiar ancient aura surrounding Yi Qing Tian." Xiao Jiu recognized this unique energy. He exclaimed, "Uncle Yen, is he about to unleash chaos upon the world so soon?" Qing Tian's father, Yi Tianxiong, was utterly terrified by the overwhelming power his son was wielding. He hastily asked Qing Tian, "When did he cultivate this evil demonic art?" "I had absolutely no idea," one of the subordinates retorted. "Why would Patriarch Qing Tian cultivate such a demonic technique?" He turned to the other person and said in a deep voice, "Cultivating demonic arts means wounding the enemy 1,000, but harming oneself 800 in order to defeat Yi Chun. He's willing to risk everything." The other person replied, "The Patriarch should just kill Yi Chun first and then talk." In that moment, witnessing Qing Tian displaying his evil power, this side couldn't help but exclaim, "The esteemed young master of the Yi family actually cultivates such a disgusting demonic art." Yin Gang said, "This Yi Qing Tian truly will stop at nothing to achieve his goals." Standing behind Yi Chun, he asked in confusion, "What's wrong with this kid?" "That power from the demonic art causing Yi Shun to inexplicably fall to his knees. His eyes filled with terror. His entire body trembled violently, a deathly aura radiating from him. Jing Shi anxiously asked, Yi Shun, what are you so afraid of? Yin Gang scratched his head, muttering, this Shui Chi Fong Gang brat. What's so scary about him? Seeing his opponent helplessly kneeling before him, Qing Tian swaggered towards Yi Shun and asked, the taste of fear not bad, is it? Soul destruction can awaken the deepest fears hidden within the human heart. Now, be a good boy and drown in your fear, and have a nice long sleep. Suddenly, Yi Shun abruptly lifted his head and screamed, Mother! Liang Ling Er and Jing, she were both utterly astonished, as they had never heard Yi Shun mention his mother before. On the contrary, after hearing that cry, Qing Tian let out a sinister smile. He stared directly at Yi Shun and coldly said, I almost forgot you twins were both spawned by that wild woman. The mysterious figure exclaimed, your father was truly a remarkable talent. The Yi family head finished his sentence, and then grabbed the Han Bing sword from earlier. Yi Qing Tian slowly raised the sword high above his head and declared, the one chosen by destiny. Yet he married a wild woman, a mere wench picked up from the streets. Yi Shun remained in a state of turmoil, lost in thought. He seemed to be making no progress. Yi Qing Tian was now completely consumed by darkness, his mind totally eclipsed. He glared at Yi Shun and Yi Ling Er, his voice a menacing growl. You two demons should never have been born. Yi Shun could only tremble and kneel. Witnessing this scene, Ling Er's hands clenched in a fist, her eyes blazing with murderous intent, as if wanting to tear Yi Qing Tian into 100 pieces. She cried out in fury, Yi Qing Tian, you forced me to do this. Yi Qing Tian began channeling his Yuan force into the Han Bing sword. Now, I will send you to the Yellow Springs to reunite with your parents. In the blink of an eye, the sharp blade was held against Yi Chen's throat. Farewell, Yi Chun. A Buddhist chant echoed. His mouth was stained with fresh blood. No one expected him to take his own life. Qing Tian asked in astonishment, what happened? Everything was within the calculations of Yi Ling Er, Yi Chen's older sister. Strange black smoke suddenly emanated from her body, and snake scales gradually appeared on her hands. My true identity has finally been revealed, but I had no other choice. Yi Ling Er completely transformed into a snake woman, her dark eyes gleaming with a terrifying bloodlust. Everyone was horrified by her true appearance. Snake eyes, dragon scales. Could Yi Ling Er be? Xiao Yushan gasped in shock. These two siblings truly have tragic fates. Qing Tian turned to Ling Er and questioned, Yi Ling Er, where did you get the snake's 10,000 venom poison? She held a sharp object in her hand, slowly explaining, do you want to taste what it's like to be devoured to death by your own hidden weapon? After speaking, her body returned to its normal state. Qing Tian was enraged, pounding his chest and roaring, if I die, you won't live either. Do I look like I want to die? He was immediately stunned by her words. Without stopping there, Ling Er unleashed a torrent of sharp words at him. Yi Qing Tian, you fool, so full of yourself. You really think that Yi Ling Er is easy to bully? Qing Tian's father fidgeted restlessly, continuously glancing at his son, unable to swallow this anger. He pointed directly at Ling Er and yelled, you too. You demon spawned by that lascivious woman. Don't think you'll die easily. Before finishing his sentence, he spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. Ling Er coldly asked him, what's wrong? Too bad you won't have the chance to see it anymore. You will pay. You will die. But before collapsing in the pool of blood he himself created, he crumpled to his knees in agonizing pain. I won't accept this. Everything was clearly within my grasp. I'm not resigned to this. With those final words, he collapsed, motionless. Yi Tianxiong witnessed the scene, utterly stunned. Everyone rushed onto the stage. Screams and shouts erupted in chaos. Qing Tian, my son, be strong. Hold on. Father will take you back. Find Yi Shun to detoxify you. Qing Tian was helped up by his father. A weak voice emerged. Father, avenge me. Qing Tian's breath slowly faded away. Witnessing his son's last breath, tears streamed down his face like rain. My son, my poor son. Over here. Jingxi rushed to Yi Shun's side, anxiously asking, Brother Yi Shun, wake up, wake up. Xian Tian's body was completely unresponsive, devoid of any life. His father suddenly stood up without a word. Immediately, The old man spun around towards Ling Er, who was collapsed on the ground, writhing in agony, and roared furiously. Yi Ling Er, you will pay with your life for my son. A gleaming sword, condensed from his magic, suddenly appeared. Fortunately, two subordinates intervened just in time, stopping him. Master, please calm down. Yi Ling Er absolutely cannot die. If we kill her, we won't be able to explain ourselves to the crown prince. But rage had clouded his reason. He flung his two subordinates away, madly controlling the Sword of Light. Get out of my way, you monsters! Ling Er didn't move, letting the sharp blade hurtle towards her. She closed her eyes, resigned to her fate, thinking that what was meant to be would be. However, an unexpected turn of events occurred. A man, with an ethereal presence, used a flying leaf sword dance to intercept the old man's fatal attack. The person risking his life to shield Ling Er was none other than her own father. Ling Er looked at the man standing before her, tears welling up in her eyes. She weakly called out, "Father, come with me. Come with me." Perhaps due to sheer exhaustion, Ling Er had fallen into a hallucination, mistaking the man in front of her for her father. But alas, that person was Yushan. He was slightly startled when she called him father. Ling Er, utterly exhausted, fainted, tears still streaming down her cheeks. The tears continued to flow endlessly. Yushan quickly reached out to catch her. On the fighting stage, Jing, she sobbed, desperately calling out the male lead's name. Yichen, wake up. He's trapped in his own dream, unable to break free. Sweat poured down him like rain, his eyes vacant and lifeless. Yichen screaming uter angon. Witnessing this horrifying scene, Jing, she cried out in alarm. I only wish you could quickly wake up from this nightmare. Brother Yi-chun, do you remember your promise to me? Jing, she's question seemed to stir something within Yi-chen's dazed mind. He stirred slightly, letting out a groan. Yi-chen's face contorted in pain. His body thrashed, struggling to break free from the agonizing illusion that enveloped him. His pupils gradually dilated, his consciousness slowly returned. He turned his head to look at the woman beside him, and with difficulty called out, "Jing, Princess Jing Shi." Seeing that Yi-chun had awakened, Jing Shi rushed into his arms, holding him tightly. She was still trembling with fear and relief. "You really scare me to death just now." The Yi family elders were surprised to see that the newcomer was Yushan, and they shouted, "You're from the Jianshan Manor. What are you doing at the Yi residence?" Yushan held Ling Er tightly in his arms, and replied coldly with a sarcastic tone, "Your Yi family dares to bully such a weak girl? If this gets out, won't you become a laughingstock?" Yi Tianxiong's blood boiled at the provocation. He angrily retorted, "The affairs of the Yi clan are none of your concern, Zijian Mountain Manor. When did you earn the right to interfere?" Yushan immediately responded. Even a complete stranger couldn't stand idly by, let alone when Yi-chun is my junior brother. He pointed directly at Ling Er, his voice dripping with contempt. "This vile seductress. Murder my son. Her life will pay for his." He chuckled coldly, his voice laced with sarcasm. "Your son stirred up trouble on Qingyun Peak, invited his own doom. His death was well-deserved." Yi Tianxiong's fury reached its peak. Channeling his inner energy, he roared, "Enough nonsense! Step aside, or die with her." With an earth-shattering bellow, he commanded, "Yuan Xiao, Yuan Yun, attack! Tear them to pieces." The two men responded in unison. Then, together, they channeled their qi, forming a colossal sword with earth-shattering power. Witnessing the expanding aura and the overwhelming power emanating from the attack, Yushan only slightly furrowed his brows. He had no intention of dodging, his expression remaining as calm as ever. Elder Mo, seemingly out of nowhere, quietly appeared beside him. He looked up at the platform, his voice deep and resonant, addressing Yi Tianxiong. "Did you ask for this old man's opinion?" The sharp swordsmanship of the Yi family hurtled towards them. Elder Mo instantly summoned a giant eagle, its entire body as black as ink, with only its eyes sharp and blood red. The eagle intercepted the powerful attack. Elder Mo looked at Yushan and calmly said, "Young master, take Yi Linger and leave this place. Leave this matter to me." Yushan obeyed, lifting Linger into his arms, and replied, "Elder Mo, then this junior will entrust everything to you." Elder Mo said nothing, only waving his hand for him to leave quickly. After Yushan was gone, he focused all his attention on the ongoing battle. Elder Mo then called out to Yun Gang, Yi Shun, saying, "The situation is unfavorable. I'm afraid we're in for a fierce battle." Hearing the call, Yun Gang and Yi Shun quickly approached Elder Amo. Both replied in unison, "Yes." Currently, the two groups of three stood facing each other, weapons drawn and tensions high. No one dared to speak, breaking the terrifying silence. The atmosphere grew thick with anticipation, making it hard to breathe. Two divine beasts, one white and one gray, watched from the sidelines. They too could sense the extreme tension that filled the air. Xiao Zbai decided to break the silence first. Facing those three Shun Tong realm cultivators, he said, "I fear we'll have a hard time holding our own." Xiao Jiu gave Xiao Bai a sidelong glance. "Then what are you waiting for? Go on." Indignant, Xiao Bai pointed at himself, his face full of injustice. "Why does it always have to be me?" he demanded. "Xiao Jiu, why don't you give him a chance to back down?" With that, Xiao Jiu hopped behind Xiao Bai and without hesitation, kicked him in the rear. Xiao Bai was sent flying, completely caught off guard. "Do I really need to lift a finger for something this trivial?" Xiao Jiu said nonchalantly. "Go!" Before Xiao Bai could react, he was kicked again, sent soaring through the air. He could only whimper as he charged into the fray. Xiao Bai zipped past the protagonist's group. One moment, he was an adorable puppy. The next, he transformed into a gigantic, majestic fox. His eyes sharpened, gleaming with a terrifying ferocity. It roared ferociously. Old Man Yi surely hadn't anticipated this. Deep within the forest, near Ci Jian Villa, Yushan gently leaned Yi Linger against the trunk of an ancient tree. He stood facing her, his grip tight on the cold, sharp blade, poised to end her life with a single stroke. His gaze was fixed on the sword, his face a mask of hesitation and inner turmoil. He wasn't sure if killing her was the right thing to do. The day before the earth-shattering battle at Qingyun Peak, his father had said, "Yushan, you can go rescue Yi Linger openly and honorably, and declare your intentions towards her." At the time, his father had his back to him, so he couldn't see the expression on his beloved father's face. Then, his father turned, his face calm, and continued, "But if you detect anything unusual about Yi Ling or any sign of something amiss, you must not show any mercy." Yushan disagreed with his father's words and protested. "Father, she's also a victim in all of this." Hearing this, his father angrily roared at Yushan. "This concerns the fate of countless people, the safety of the entire world. How could I have shown mercy?" Back in the present, Xiao Yushan furrowed his brows, lost in deep thought. "Father ordered me to eliminate her, yet I saved her." He gripped his sword tightly, his hand trembling as he fought the inner turmoil, his mind in chaos. "But I couldn't bring myself to do it. What am I going to tell Father?" At that moment, Ling Er slowly regained consciousness. Ling Er opened her eyes, her senses returning, and she breathed a sigh of relief. Then, she looked up. Before her eyes stood the young man with a sword in his hand. She panicked and quickly recoiled. She asked cautiously, "Who are you?" The young man sheathed his sword, raising his other hand in a reassuring gesture, and replied, "I am Xiao Yushan." She continued, "So you're the young master of the Purple Sword Manor." Then she burst into tears again, asking, "Are you here to kill me?" This situation made Ling Er. Flashing back to a moment 3 years prior, her beloved father once again pointed his sharp sword at her. Amidst the agonizing pain, hot tears streamed down her face as she choked back a sob, asking her father, "Father, why do you want Ling Er to die? How could you bring yourself to do this?" He too harbored an unspoken sorrow, tears tracing paths down his weathered cheeks. With a pain no less profound than his daughter's, he whispered, "Because both you and I are unfortunate souls, cursed by fate." With that, he dropped his sword to the ground, turning his back and walking away without hesitation. But before disappearing from sight, he didn't forget to warn Ling Er, "After I'm gone, remember this. Even in death, never let yourself be used by others." Back then, she was too young to understand what was happening and couldn't possibly foresee the horrors that her future held. She could only watch as her father's figure faded away, never to return. Back in the present, after confiding her past to Yushan, she cried out in deep sorrow, "I am cursed with misfortune. I shouldn't even exist in this world. Even my own father wanted to take my life." Lost in her memories, he listened to her life story. A fire ignited within him, burning his soul. Pain and compassion for a life filled with hardship and misfortune washed over him. He called her name, but the words caught in his throat, unsure how to offer comfort. Ling Er regained her composure, burying the pain deep within her soul. Closing her eyes slightly, she spoke calmly, "Death by your hand is better than than being used as a pawn by the Yi family. Do it. Zijianshan, a hidden paradise nestled behind towering mountains and a sea of misty clouds. After a fierce battle with the Yi family, the protagonist group had returned. Jing, she held Xiao Bai in her arms, her face etched with pain. That old man from the Yi family is despicable. He dared to injure Xiao Bai. Elder Mo, walking behind, gently reassured her. Princess, don't worry too much. Xiao Bai is the divine beast Tian Go, possessing extraordinary power. It will recover on its own in a few days. Yishan walked, his eyes darting around, his face filled with unease. Where's senior brother and sister? They still hadn't returned to the mountain manor. Yin Gang, standing beside him, chimed in. We beat those 3 old Yi geezers to a pulp. They should have been back by now. But that Yi Tianxiong is truly despicable. He recalled the final moments of the battle, witnessing Yuan Tu and Yuan Yin coughing up blood until their deaths, while Tianxiong heartlessly abandoned them and fled. Unable to hide his contempt, he continued. To see his own brothers die and still run away so casually, it's unbelievable. Elder Mo suddenly felt a sense of unease, but unsure of the reason. He continued walking with the group. After a few steps, he suddenly realized something. His expression changed, and he hurriedly warned the protagonist. Something's wrong. Yichun, I fear your sister is in danger. Jing Shi, having just returned, still unaware of what happened, innocently asked, What danger? I asked someone from the security bureau to rescue Yiling. Elder Mo continued gravely. But that estate master may not want Yiling alive. Young master is a filial son. The voice trailed off, leaving the unspoken meaning hanging heavy in the air. Horror washed over Yi Chen's face as he stammered, unable to speak. What? Eldest senior brother. He is currently in the small forest belonging to the Purple Sword Mountain Manor. Zijian Shanzuan, witnessing Ling Heir's unsettling calmness in the face of death. Yushan hung his head, sighing heavily. He felt a pang of sorrow, pitying her cruel fate. But then his father's words echoed in his mind. Lifting his head, a steely resolve hardened Yushan's gaze as he thought, So be it, even if I offend them. Without hesitation, he lashed out, striking a fatal blow to Ling Heir's back. The impact sent a spray of blood from Ling Heir's lips. Ling Heir coughed up blood, and with it, the insect Qing Tian had forced her to swallow was also expelled. The moment the insect touched the ground, it instantly transformed into a wisp of smoke, vanishing without a trace. She braced herself for the fatal blow. She thought she was facing a terrible fate, but unexpectedly, Yushan only wanted to help her remove the insect from her body. He had no intention of harming her. She turned her head, asking in confusion, what is this? Yushan explained, that insect, if it stays in your body for too long, it will have adverse effects. She interrupted him, asking innocently, Then why didn't you kill me? He was flustered, his eyes darting away. After a moment of silence, Yushan stammered, deciding to confess the truth. To be honest, my father said you were a demon, but I couldn't bring myself to harm an innocent person. Ling Heir suddenly rushed forward and embraced him tightly. Yushan was stunned by her sudden action. He had never been embraced by a beautiful woman like this in his entire life. He tried to push her away, but seeing the tears streaming down her beautiful face, his heart softened. He gently caressed. Wei silently comforted the girl beside the male lead. Jing, she loudly questioned Mo Leijiji. Why did you want to kill Yi Chen's older sister? The male lead also spoke up, sharing his own speculation. Could it be because I destroyed Xiao Yu Chang? Why not come directly to me for revenge? Old Mo looked at him sternly and countered with a question for Yichun. You must know a little something about the bloodline secret of your Yi family, right? Yichun replied. Silence hung heavy in the air. After a long pause, Yi Qingtian finally spoke, mentioning the possibility of opening the imperial mausoleum. He sighed deeply, bowing his head to conceal his expression, before slowly continuing. The Imperial Mausoleum, this name shrouded in secrecy. In reality, he walked to the window, gazing into the distance, before finishing his sentence. Doesn't hold the ancestors of the 7th generation of the imperial family. His words stunned everyone into silence, as they gasped in unison. What's going on? Yi Qingtian's face darkened, his voice low and ominous. Beneath the imperial mausoleum lies a suppressed celestial demon, Xianglu. The news struck like a bolt of lightning from a clear sky, leaving Yun Gang in disbelief as he yelled, "Xianglu!" Panic-filled Jing, she quickly asked him aloud. "But that was a tale from the ancient primordial era. What does it have to do with our Yi family?" Yi Qingtian pointed at Yi Chun, slowly explaining. "For generations, your Yi family has had hidden experts, guarding, living in a small place like Qingyan Town." He had never stopped to think why. The young man scratched his head, a puzzled look on his face. "Is the Yi family really that powerful?" Old Mo slowly explained. "Even in the bustling capital city, Shintong realm experts can be counted on one hand. Yet in small Qingyan Town, the Yi family has 3. Yin Gang added, "Exactly. The renowned sword manor, famous for its swordsmanship, only has 2 Shantong realm cultivators." She still didn't fully understand and asked, "But what does that have to do with Xianglu?" Old Mo's mood darkened again, a heavy weight settling upon him. He replied, "Blood ties." She immediately exclaimed, "Xianglu, the renowned god of wisdom. The 9-headed serpent, Wu Runhong Shui, was the one who murdered Xianglu. 3 rings, 3 deaths, currently imprisoned in northern Kunlun. Huangling is located in northern Kunlun." Before she could finish, Lu Xingji trembled uncontrollably, a chilling fear seeping into her bones. Hearing these words, Yi Shun was filled with indignation, roaring in protest. "Then why did she have to die?" To this question, it seemed no one could offer an answer. Lu Xingji's face was etched with grief, her heart aching for the siblings' tragic fate. But Yi Shun still received no explanation from the Yi family. He continued to bellow in fury. "I don't care about Lieutenant General Liu or anyone else. My sister was the only family I had in this world." Elder Mo roared, trying to restrain Yi Shun's rage. His expression turned stern, reminding Yi Shun of the mission he carried. "You are the chosen one. On your shoulders rests the responsibility for the fate of all people." Standing against the light, the protagonist's figure appeared even more desolate and sorrowful. He questioned the heavens, questioned the earth, then angrily demanded in a voice filled with resentment, "My parents were murdered. My sister is imprisoned. I slaved away in the Yi family's mines for 3 years, nearly losing my life there. These people in this world, do they ever care about the lives of my family?" Finishing his words, he coldly uttered one final sentence. "If my sister dies, the entire world will be buried with her." With that, he turned and walked away with a dignified air. His face was hidden in the shadows, but his eyes shone with determination, a single-minded desire to protect his sister. He pushed open the door and stepped outside, just as another figure arrived. Recognizing the newcomer, his eyes widened in surprise as he exclaimed, "Senior brother." The newcomer was Yushan, holding the sleeping Ling heir in his arms. Yi Chen anxiously inquired about his sister's condition. Yushan furrowed his brow slightly, comforting Yi Chen, "Don't worry, she's just a little weak. She'll be fine after a few days of rest." Yi Chen looked at his sister with Xin Kongde Yan Shun, not forgetting to express his gratitude to Yushan. "Senior brother, thank you so much." Yushan replied, "It was nothing, I just—" As he spoke, he kept his head down, avoiding eye contact with his junior sister, because he had almost obeyed his father's order to kill Ling Er. Just then, his father, the master of CI Jianshan Zhuang, stepped out and called, "Yushan." The sudden call startled them both, and they turned to look at him. Behind the master of CI Jianshan Zhuang, Yin Gang stepped forward and respectfully cupped his hands in greeting. The sect leader beside Jing, she hurriedly pleaded, "Help, help." His face was dark, darker than the bottom of a pot. As he struggled to contain his rage, he coldly said to Yushan, "Come with me to the study." Inside the master's study, he stood with his back to Yushan, his voice filled with reproach. "You have truly—" Yushan knew he had disobeyed his father's orders, but he wouldn't regret his decision, demanding him to take the life of an innocent person. He simply couldn't bring himself to commit such a cruel act. Yushan frankly replied to his father, "I cannot do this." Hearing this, rage ignited within his father, blood rushing to his head. He spun around and roared, "Insolent! Yushan, this concerns the fate of countless people. How can you be so merciful, so soft-hearted?" Yushan hastily knelt down, kowtowing in plea. He begged his father to spare the innocent person's life. Witnessing such resolute defiance from his son for the first time, he felt Yushan was actively opposing him. His face darkened, and he said with displeasure, "Yushan, you have never disobeyed me before. Yet today, for a mere temptress, His expression softened, his voice tinged with sorrow. Yu Chung is already gone. Why can't you give me some peace of mind? Faced with this agonizing question, Yushan remained stubbornly bowed, trying to reason. Father, Yiling Heir only possesses the ability to summon Xiang Lu. She's not a demoness. Years ago, wasn't her father your closest friend? Mentioning this deep bond, he held his head in his hands, his face etched with despair. A hint of regret flickered across his face as he revealed that her father was forced to take his own life because of this very matter. It can only be blamed on the ill-fated timing of their births, their unfortunate destinies. With that, he turned to him and asked, "Do you know how many people want to exploit her?" He lifted his head, pleading earnestly, begging him to spare Yi Ling Ni's life. Witnessing his sincerity, he sighed in resignation. Finally, his heart softened, and he agreed. She could be spared. Overjoyed, he hastily expressed his gratitude. "Thank you, Father. There's no such thing as a free lunch in this world," he continued slowly. But at this moment, he was still basking in his joy, smiling and saying, "Please, Father, instruct me," he said sternly. "The young miss of the Feng family, betrothed to her. You're not getting any younger. You shouldn't delay any longer. Before this month ends, you must hold the wedding ceremony." With that, he turned and walked out. After hearing his father's demand, Yushan fell into silent contemplation, but he didn't hesitate for long. He quickly made up his mind, agreeing to his father's words. Somewhere in Jin Mountain, two divine beasts were lounging in a large armchair. Xiao Jiu spoke up, teasingly. "Hey, thick-faced mutt, you're a divine beast, yet you were defeated by a human." Xiao Bai, despite being bandaged up like a mummy, retorted haughtily, "You lecherous old fool, have you got nothing better to do than mock me? Why don't you worry about what we'll do if Xiang Lu shows up instead?" Hearing this, Xiao Jiu became worried and fell into deep thought. Xiao Bai spoke again, saying, "Hey, stop overthinking it." He pulled Xiao Jiu back to reality. It suddenly thought of Feng Wang and continued, "Feng Wang should appear now. Otherwise, our chances of winning aren't high." Xiao Jiu said worriedly, "Since the last great battle, Feng Wang has vanished without a trace. No news at all." Xiao Bai replied in astonishment, "Impossible." The atmosphere suddenly became heavy. Outside, the sky was clear and peaceful, like a painting. But soon, it turned dark and ominous. Back in the room where the two divine beasts were, the Yishun sisters embraced each other, sobbing and calling each other's names. They thought they would never see each other again. Jing, she stood beside them, silently watching the two sisters reunite, couldn't help but sigh with emotion. The scene was so touching, even Xiao Bai couldn't hold back her tears. Her eyes welled up as she watched them. Xiao Jiu sat beside them, witnessing this scene, and sarcastically remarked, tears flowing like a river. How utterly cheesy. Truer words have never been spoken. As the two were immersed in the romantic atmosphere, Jing, she suddenly turned to Yi Chun and asked, "Right, when Yi Qing Tian triggered your inner demons, why did you suddenly call out for your mother?" He looked up at her, then lowered his head, remaining silent for a long moment before slowly recounting the events. "At that time, I didn't realize I had fallen into an illusion. I only asked myself, where am I? Around me, darkness enveloped everything. Only my body was glowing. Glowing. Yes, I looked at my hands and wondered, could it be that I'm already dead? If I'm dead, why don't I see my parents?" While I was panicking, a voice suddenly called out from behind, "Xiao Chun." When I turned around, I was utterly astonished to see my deceased mother, smiling gently at me. I rushed towards her, crying out, "Mother," and embraced her with longing. The gentle warmth from the mother he had longed for all these years. The emotions he had suppressed for so long erupted into a torrent of hot tears, streaming down his cheeks. His voice choked with sobs, he stammered, I miss you so much." The kind mother held him tightly in her warm embrace, replying, "I've never left you, not even for a moment." He was stunned, instinctively reaching out to grasp her shoulders, his voice laced with doubt. "Mother," she continued, her tone gentle, "your father's waiting for you at the Yi family as well." Yichen was bewildered, asking, "Mother, what are you saying?" I don't understand." "Why don't you understand what I'm saying?" She reached out to wipe away the remaining tears on Yi Chen's cheeks, and replied, "You'll understand soon enough." The young man sobbed, about to ask more about his father, but as he uttered, "Mother," she interrupted him, pointing behind him. "Xiao Chun, look." Yi Chun turned his head to follow his mother's gesture and froze in shock and astonishment. Before him was the image of Jing Shi, panicked and worried, beside his unconscious body. Tears streamed down her face as worry consumed her. Her voice called out, attempting to pull him from the abyss of despair. Yi Shun, wake up! Yi Shun, do you remember your promise to me? She used a bit of her spiritual power, creating an illusion of the outside world, showing him that there were still people waiting for his return. She softly urged, don't disappoint those who love you. With that, she gently touched his forehead. His eyes were still hazy, when suddenly a strange, brilliant light filled the space. Hearing this, Ling Er looked at Jing Shi in a daze, thinking to herself, don't disappoint those who love you. She blushed crimson, embarrassed, lowering her head at the words, those who love you. She probably wished she could disappear into the ground. Ling Er suddenly understood everything, smiling mischievously. She turned to the male lead and offered a compliment. As expected of my good little brother, the young man bashfully brushed a stray strand of hair from his lips, a happy smile, unable to be contained, playing at the corners of his mouth. Witnessing this scene, she smiled shyly, her cheeks flushing a delicate pink. Xiao Bai, despite being completely bandaged, still managed to sit up, intently watching the couple's affectionate exchange with amusement. It commented, old monster, these two will definitely be fun to watch in the future. However, Xiao Zhou's attention was elsewhere. She asked, Yi Chen's mother is so mysterious, and then continued to inquire, why would Yi Qingtian insult his own mother like that? Ling Er replied sadly, mother truly doesn't have any parents. Hearing this, Yi Chun became furious, angrily saying, those people from the Yi family whisper behind her back every day, calling her a wild woman. It's truly despicable. Ling Er suddenly recalled the warm image of her mother. Her face softened, her eyes sparkling with joy as she continued. But my mother never revealed her thoughts. Her face always wore a smile. I always felt she was like an ethereal immortal, and moreover, there was something incredibly strange. Yi Shun and Xing Tishi looked at the girl inquisitively. They waited for the rest of the story. The girl immediately pointed out her mother's peculiarity. She didn't even have a last name, only a given name, Shi Ling. Xiao Jiu's eyes widened in astonishment, his jaw dropping. Hearing the name, the boy mumbled to himself. The name Shi Ling, according to the plot, in other legends, must be a character of great importance. An incredibly powerful figure who will surely appear later. Xiao Bai looked at the pensive expression of the boy beside him and spoke with dissatisfaction. You've been mumbling to yourself a lot lately. Aren't you going to argue with me anymore? You're a divine beast, yet your mind is only occupied with bickering. You're such an idiot. Suddenly, Yin Gang burst through the door, exclaiming in a panicked voice, Princess, something's happened to the princess. The abrupt words made Xing Shi jump, her heart pounding in her chest. Before she could fully compose herself, he patted his chest to reassure Yin Gang. You scare me half to death. He continued breathlessly. Urgent news from the capital. His Majesty has suddenly fallen gravely ill. Just then, Elder Imo entered, overhearing the dreadful news. Hearing the shocking news, Xingxi's face instantly turned pale. In a mix of shock and worry, he exclaimed, What? Upon hearing of the Emperor's critical condition, everyone hurriedly prepared to depart for the palace. This trip will take at least 2 months, the CA representative said thoughtfully. I'm afraid we won't make it back in time for your wedding at the end of the month. Seeing Xing, she lost in thought. Yushan offered words of comfort. Cousin, don't worry about the wedding. I don't really want to attend anyway. Hearing this, she replied, Miss Feng lives up to her reputation. She's been extraordinary since childhood. He simply chuckled awkwardly. For those of us born into prestigious families like ours, sister, matters of marriage are hardly ever our own decision. Hearing this, Yichen couldn't help but feel a deep sense of empathy. I myself have no idea to whom I'll be betrothed. Before departing, he addressed Yi Ling, sister. I've barely just seen you, and now I must leave again. We won't be able to celebrate our birthdays together at the end of this month. If anyone dares to bully you, go find my senior brother. As he said this, she glanced towards Yushan. Their eyes met, then quickly darted away. It seemed a budding affection had sparked between them. He then carefully reminded Xiao Bai, remember what I told you. It confidently replied, rest assured, princess. Then, turning to the old monster, he instructed, you must protect the princess with your life. The old monster vowed, if any harm befalls the princess while she's in my care, I'll chop off my tail for you. However, he was met with a murderous glare. Your weapon? Who would dare take it? To be extra certain, Yushan cautioned everyone. The journey to the holy court is long and arduous, full of dangers and hardships. We must be extremely cautious along the way. Yin Gang resolutely replied, I've escorted the princess countless times and never encountered any danger. Seeing Yin Gang's overconfidence, Yushan sternly reminded him, even so, we can't be careless or let our guard down. In these turbulent times, unforeseen incidents can happen. To get everyone on the road quickly, Ling Er hurriedly interrupted Yushan. Brother, stop talking or it will get dark. Do you want them to travel in the dark? Jing, she was relieved to be rescued. Let's go, let's go. Scene changes to Shao Si Aishan. Wang Tianyi was escorting hundreds of prisoners to a secret location. Suddenly, a voice echoed. The trail is too obvious. You are indeed braver than that little punk. He was arrogant and complacent, thinking it was his due. I, Wang Tianyi, am the Grand General of the Holy Court. These 50,000 prisoners of war are my introductory gift. From the fissure in the ground, a powerful voice boomed, filled with authority and might. What do you want? His expression instantly changed, his eyes lighting up with intense excitement. Help me conquer. A gigantic arm slowly emerged from within the fissure. I relish the battlefield. Leave it to me. One by one, the prisoners were seized and slaughtered by the monster within. In the blink of an eye, it had devoured all the prisoners, leaving none behind. Large cracks began to spread across the ground, surrounding the initial fissure. Finally, the ground exploded into fragments, accompanied by an earth-shattering roar. Zhu Yan, release me. From within the thick smoke and dust, a colossal monster emerged. It had the form of a massive, powerful ape. The monster spoke. Just you wait, Wu Yan. Once I return with Yi Chen's friends, you'll see. The group gradually ventured deeper into the dense forest. However, as they passed through a clearing, they unexpectedly encountered a large fire blazing fiercely on the ground. Witnessing this strange sight, Yi Chen felt a sense of unease. The flames burned in concentric circles, a truly unusual phenomenon. Yin Gang looked over, equally astonished. He had never witnessed such a bizarre method of arson. They had traveled this path countless times, yet encountered such a strange occurrence on their return. Seeing everyone abruptly stop, Jing, she decided to go ahead and investigate. Old Mo softly asked, Your Highness, what do you make of this sign? She pondered for a moment and replied, I've only read about these strange markings in ancient texts. Suddenly, Yi Chen spotted another fire ahead. Quickly, let's go take a look. The group. They finally reached the origin of the devastating fire. Strangely, the raging inferno abruptly died down, inexplicably. Yin Gang speculated that it wouldn't rain today. However, upon closer inspection, Old Mo believed it was likely the mark of a huido. According to ancient records, the huido is a bizarre beast, shaped like a dog, with the ability to breathe fire that incinerates everything. Its name is huido. Huido is a demonic beast that primarily inhabits the southern lands of the Shanghai continent. Wherever they roam, they leave behind a trail of ashes and endless fire. But for this demonic beast from the distant south to suddenly appear in the holy city, it was perplexing. He predicted that the beast wreaking havoc in the city was an omen of impending chaos. The old monster looked at Yi Shun's silhouette and declared that the boy didn't have much time left. Suddenly, a fire erupted, putting everyone on high alert. Immediately, Old Mo rushed towards the scene of the fire. Yin Gang pointed in the direction of the flames. Yi Chen warned, there seems to be a huido demonic beast ahead. We need to be careful. We'll face many dangers like this in the future. Consider this an opportunity to train yourselves. Back at the temporary camp, a beautiful young lady appeared unexpectedly. She asked the trembling guard, Where is your young master? The guard stammered in terror, F Feng. Lady Feng, seeing his hesitation, she flew into a rage, grabbed him by the collar, and yelled, I asked you, where is Xiao Yushan? It turned out this young lady was Feng Piapiao, the only daughter of the Lianhua Shan Zhuang's master, a renowned expert with mid-stage profound, congealing divine realm cultivation. After a barrage of questioning, the terrified guard revealed that the young master was at the training grounds. Hearing the desired answer, she released the guard. Before leaving, she warned, Next time, don't make me ask twice. With that, she quickly walked away. Feng Piapiao was incredibly excited to see Yushan again, but the sight before her eyes left her speechless. Was the moment he was joyfully playing with Ling and I. Feng Piapiao's face immediately changed. She blurted out, "Where did this vixen crawl out from?" Seeing Feng Piapiao appear, Yushan gently asked, "Feng Piapiao, why are you here?" She sharply replied, "I came to see my fiancé, to see if he's been seduced by some seductress." Hearing this, Ling and I quickly spoke up to clarify. "Young lady, you've misunderstood. I am." But before she could finish, Feng Piapiao interrupted. "I don't care who you are. Daring to seduce the young master of the Purple Sword Manor. Your ambition isn't small." Seeing Feng Piapiao become more and more outrageous, Yushan spoke up to defend Ling and I. "Yi Ling and I is a valued guest I invited. Don't cause trouble here for no reason." Refusing to be outdone, Feng Piapiao yelled at Yushan, "If it weren't for the superior weapons of our refining fire manor, your Purple Sword Manor would be nothing. We're like brothers, and yet you scold me for another woman?" Hearing those words, Ling Er felt a surge of resentment and turned to leave. Seeing this, the young man hurried after her, calling out Ling Er's name. Seeing him call Ling Er's name so intimately, Piao Piao grew even more furious, calling her Ling Er. How awfully chummy. However, after a moment of reflection, it seems that before Xiao Yushan's wedding, I need to stay here and keep a very close eye on him. Back with Yichun, Huido displayed an arrogant and haughty demeanor, believing that the enormous hound was nothing in his eyes, sharing the same sentiment. Yichun also judged its power to be far less than their previous encounter. Huido's disdain was palpable. Yichun spoke with unwavering confidence. "My friend, you and I, each of us, with just 2 moves, can easily take it down." Yin Gang immediately agreed. "Let's finish this battle quickly. We'll have roasted meat to feast on tonight." Yi Chun channeled his inner strength and proposed, "Brother, I'll attack from the left. We need to combine our strength and deliver a fatal blow. Finish him." Immediately, both of them charged into the attack. Leading the charge was none other than Yi Shun. At first, it seemed like everything was going smoothly, but suddenly the monster unleashed a massive wave of fire, engulfing the surroundings and halting their advance. "Oh my God, damn it, how can the flames be so intense?" Panicked, they both hastily retreated. However, the monster didn't stop there. It continued its ferocious assault. Terrified, they could only scream and scatter in all directions. "That fire monster is moving too fast. My ass is about to be roasted. Damn it, is there anything that can stop this monster?" In the midst of their escape, Yi Shun suddenly stopped, as if realizing something. Seeing Yi Shun stop, Yin Gang urged, "Yi Shun, are you tired of living?" Yi Shun calmly said to Yin Gang, "Let's gamble." He turned around to face the approaching inferno, simultaneously drawing his great Yu sword. Sword gripped tight, he exuded an aura of fierce confidence. Yun Gang beside him gasped, "The Emperor's weapon, can it still be used like this?" Tired of his rambling, Yishin cut him off. "Enough talk. I'll handle that stream of flames. You focus on attacking and taking it down." Yin Gang nodded in agreement. "If my iron great distance fist can't kill it, then taste my iron tiger mountain crushing claw." With that, he launched himself into the air. Suddenly, Huido retracted all the flames it had just unleashed, forcing both of them to pause, hesitant to make a move. In a blink, it erupted with a volley of fireballs, forcing the two to struggle in defense. "What the hell is this?" Feng Piao Piao returned with a worried expression. She angrily questioned the guard. Why is Mount D Bing gone?" He replied softly, "Miss Feng, you haven't heard about such a big event." Seeing his hesitation, she suddenly barked, her voice brimming with authority. "What are you waiting for? Spill it." Witnessing her fury, he hastily replied, I'll talk. It's like this." Some time later, at the ethereal paradise of Pia Piao residence, she commanded her subordinates, "Thoroughly investigate everything related to the Yi family in Qingyan City, especially those 2 twin brothers. Leave no stone unturned." The subordinate immediately obeyed. Back with Yi Chen's group, everyone felt utterly helpless as they witnessed Yi Chun and Yun Gang being brutally beaten by Hua Do. Both were severely injured. Xiao Jiao stood beside them, at a loss for words. He can't even handle small fry like this. What can I expect from him? Sensing their despair, Xingxi spoke up, offering guidance. "West, go straight west for about 200 meters and then turn left. You'll see." Hearing the commotion, they rushed towards the sound. They hurried through the dense forest. However, Yishun was stopped by a small stream, but the stream proved to be no match for him. Witnessing Yishun leap over the stream, he channeled his Xiang Dun inner strength, striking the water's surface with a powerful palm. A massive wave surged upwards, hurtling towards Hua-Tu. He thought the wave would surely subdue the beast. The ferocious wave sent Hua-Tu struggling and flailing, barely managing to escape. Seeing the water-inflicted wounds on Hua-Tu's body, Yishin suddenly realized it was afraid of water. Seizing his opponent's critical weakness, Yishun immediately unleashed the dragon-absorbing water sphere. Taste my ultimate move. A gigantic water sphere materialized, hurtling towards the beast. Initially, Yishun was confident he would finish off Hua-Tu. However, when the water sphere struck, it only inflicted minor damage on the monster. Thus, Hua-Tu narrowly escaped death. Seeing his prey about to escape, he immediately gave chase. A bad feeling washed over Jingxi. She urged Yichin not to risk pursuing the creature. On the side, Xiao Jiu cried out in frustration. This idiot, always looking for trouble. Despite everyone's attempts to dissuade him, Yichun stubbornly kept his eyes on the prize. Stop right there. Worry etched itself onto Jing Shi's face. Yichun, come back. It's dangerous. Hua-Tu yelled, ignoring all warnings. Yichin envisioned Princess Jing, she enjoying a delicious dog meat dinner that night. In stark contrast to Yichin's excitement, Yin Gang lay motionless, so still that Mo Lao had to personally shake him awake. Quickly go after Yichun and bring him back. The distance between him and Hua-Tu was rapidly closing. Seizing the opportunity, he leaped into the air, attempting to grab the monster's tail. You can't run away now. Seeing the situation spiraling out of control, Mo Lao cried out, Yichun, stop. Yishin thought he almost had the monster by the tail, but something unexpected happened. A terrifying pillar of fire suddenly erupted from its rear end. What the hell? It can even breathe fire from its butt? The flames were too intense, forcing him to struggle to defend himself. This is unbearable. Seeing Yi Shan in danger, Mo Lao immediately took action, using the king's scepter. A thorny vine shot out from the scepter, quickly entangling the monster. Yi Shan felt incredibly lucky to have escaped death by a hair's breadth. That was close. I'm saved. Unbelievable, it can even shoot fire from its backside. Immediately after escaping the danger, Mo Lao approached Yi Shan. Yishan clasped his hands, expressing his deep gratitude to his savior. Fortunately, Mo Lao intervened in time. Otherwise, I would have. However, Mo Lao appeared extremely angry. Yishan, come here for a moment. Witnessing the scene, Yin Gang cracked a knowing smile. He muttered to himself in a cryptic monologue directed at Mo Lao. You're dead meat. The silent conversation between the two unfolded in an atmosphere thick with tension. The scene shifted to the Jian sword manor. At that moment, Feng Pia Piao interrogated her subordinate. Have you thoroughly investigated the matter? The subordinate hastily replied, Young mistress, I have investigated thoroughly. The results are quite intriguing, just as I expected. Tell me quickly. Feng Pia Piao commanded, her face alight with anticipation. The subordinate leaned in close and whispered in her ear, Bao Yi family sauce, Lu Qing Wentai. After hearing this valuable information, Feng Pia Piao's face lit up with delight. Yi Linger, you're doomed, she exclaimed triumphantly. Yi Chun and Yun Gang could only lower their heads and listen silently to the reprimand. Mo Lao glared at them with fury in his eyes. His gaze was so sharp that it sent shivers down Yi Chen's spine. Mo Lao's expression was truly terrifying. Meanwhile, Yin Gang appeared rather aggrieved. He thought to himself, why am I being dragged into this? After observing their reactions for a long moment, Mo Lao finally spoke. 1. The esteemed master of the Great Yu sword, wielding unparalleled power. The other, carrying the glimmering hope of the star fragment, shouldering a heavy responsibility. Yet, he acts recklessly and impulsively, without considering the consequences. If this continues, until chaos engulfs the world, leaving it in ruins, who can we rely on? Who can bear this burden? Hearing this, Yishun immediately began to decline, refusing the heavy responsibility. Elder Mo acted rashly and carelessly. It is indeed my fault, he said, but the burden of saving the world, the weight of the realm, I truly cannot bear it. Elder Mo hurriedly emphasized once more, his tone filled with worry. Fate has chosen you to predetermine the path ahead. How much longer do you intend to run? Unexpectedly, these words were met with indignant accusations from Yishun. Fate? Has it ever been kind to my family? Elder Mo could only fall silent, unable to refute those bitter words. Meanwhile, Yin Gang desperately tried to stop Yishun, fearing he would say something he shouldn't. Stop talking, Yishun. After regaining his composure, he slowly explained, You are the one entrusted with destiny.